Might give people a chance to join. What's up, guys? I'm just gonna wait a little while, see if more people join, and then we'll get started.
What's up?
Living the life, decentralized fun stuff. Yeah. How are you doing?
Pretty good.
Oh, I need to send you some court, by the way. So yeah, I'll do that here in a second.
Everybody's always quiet in here.
I know you guys can all talk. It's fine. Yeah, usually like what, 5 minutes or so after, so people can jump in and whatever.
Hey guys, this is Nug Demolisher.
What's up?
It's Jimmy from Telegram.
What up? How you doing?
What's up, guys?
What's up?
Yeah,
Just seeing if more people are gonna join or if it's gonna be a small one today. Usually there are more people than this.
I think we got started a little bit later last week, didn't we? I
Yeah,
think it was a little bit late.
yeah. We'll just give it a few minutes for people to jump in. I'll message on Telegram too. It's weird every time I do a link from Discord, and since I'm using Discord Canary, it sends a canary.discord. It's like, really? Like, you guys have a separate, completely separate link just for that? Like, whatever. It still works the same, I'm pretty sure, so it shouldn't be that big of a deal.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of who to remind.
Right? If there's anybody who like wanted to ask specific questions or whatever, like, and Mike's going live with an Alpha Vedic thing right now too. So. I see Lutz is here. Wait,
Okay.
is he on server mute for some reason?
That's what he said. He said, unserver mute me.
How did he get on server mute?
I have
What's up,
no
Lutz?
idea.
You should be unmuted now.
Jason, you're recording this, right?
Yeah, not yet, but yeah.
Well, first we talk about strippers. First we get all the dirty talk out of the way first. Then we hit record.
Yeah.
We don't
Well,
want to
I
insult
was
anybody.
giving it a few minutes just to see if anybody else wanted to jump in, and then I'll start recording.
We don't want to insult anybody, bro. Let's just keep the dirty talk off. Off the recording.
Uh,
Be appreciated.
well, it is an open discussion, right? Like,
Hey, I take entertainment anywhere I can. So I don't know about you guys.
all right. All right. I think I'll probably just start now. Just give me a second. Gotta get that ready. All right. So yeah, welcome to the what day is it? April 4th edition of the Think Tank. We do this every week so that people in the Qortal community can come in and ask us questions or, bring up topics to discuss or whatever, right? And we want to make sure that we keep open communication with the community wherever possible. And it's just a good idea, right? So we've been doing this now. This is the fourth week, I think? Maybe, yeah, the fourth
Sixth
week.
week,
Is
I
it the
think.
sixth week?
Yeah.
Well, we've been doing it
Yeah,
now
this is
for a
number
while.
6.
Wow, okay. So yeah, we've been doing it even longer than I realized. And now, what's really
Pretty,
cool. Go ahead.
pretty, pretty
Time
soon you're gonna be doing
flies.
it for 3 years, and you're gonna be like, and you're still gonna get people saying, "Hey, when's the meeting?" And you're gonna be like, "I've only been doing it for fucking 3 years at 6:30 every fucking Wednesday, motherfucker. Where the fuck you
Yeah,
been?"
well, what's cool now is I actually have the one from last week published live on the Qortal testnet on both the Q Tube and Q blog, which I am pretty stoked about. And yeah, we are actually having a dev meeting tomorrow regarding Qblog and how we're gonna do the like the design and functionality of the first version and so forth. And it's gonna be really awesome. Like Philip, who just jumped in here, what's up, man? You've been doing an amazing job with Qblog. I am like extremely stoked for the first version of that. Like even the functionality that we already have is like awesome. Like people will be able to basically build a website with a Q blog post. So it's going to be a lot more than what people think of when they think of a blog, right? Like, and what I like to always say is, like every social media platform is essentially basically a blog at the base level, right? Like Facebook and even YouTube, right? Like all of these things are basically just blog platforms. They allow people to make posts. They allow people to make comments on those posts. Some of them have a focus one direction or another. Some of them have a couple added features like a chat or whatever at the bottom, which we could also do in the future. Like we do have all of this. Like once the Q chat database and protocol go live too, like we'll be able to incorporate Q chat in a lot of the Q apps stuff. Whether it's just for like users to communicate, or it could be also used for a Q app to relay data to specific places and so forth. So there's a lot more that can be done in the near future once that takes place, because that will allow like instant communications for all kinds of different purposes, right? But even with what we have now running live on the testnet, the functionality of Qblog is badass. Like you're right now able to structure the blog however you want with click and drag. You can add text blocks, you can add pictures, you can add videos. You can just structure it however you like, make it look exactly the way that you want really easily. People are going to have a lot of fun with this. It is, I think, going to be a lot more exciting than what people initially think of when they think of a blog, because I personally think it's probably going to get more use than QTube, because with Q blog you'll be able to have like an entire post that goes along with your video, right? And then comments on that and everything. So it's gonna be really cool, and I think that that will really open up Qortal to more people using it on a regular basis for more things, right? Because then we'll have essentially a fully featured social media platform that's built inside of the Qortal UI, right? So, and this also accessible, of course, through the gateway. Gateway authentication is not done yet, but it's all structured and ready for it. So right now, if you access through the gateway with the testnet stuff, it'll say, oh, gateway auth is not enabled yet or whatever. But in the near future, that'll also take place. So it's going to be pretty awesome. I am really stoked about it. Like, this is like, the main functionality that Qortal has been trying to get to for quite a while now. We've been talking about Q apps for how long, right? Like, so this is something that is going to really propel Qortal to the next level, and really start demonstrating like what we're talking about when we say, rebuild the internet. Like, what does that mean, right? Like, that means starting with this, right? So then people can see exactly what we mean. Like, yes, websites are one thing, but right now the functionality on websites is very limited. We don't have the ability to link from one site to another, which is also coming, by the way, with the first iteration of QApps, and it's also already functional on the testnet. So yeah, and I can show some of this stuff if that's cool with Philip. I might show a little bit of this right now through the gateway, some links so people can check it out themselves and see what I'm talking about. But yeah, it's gonna be awesome. Like, we don't quite have the comments functionality yet, but the ability to structure a blog post exactly the way that you want, add pictures, videos, music with a built-in music player, which I figured Music Roundtable, who is here right now, will be very excited about this functionality. You can literally post a playlist with all the songs you want on that playlist, and it has a player built into it at the bottom, and you can literally just play the music there from the blog post. So yeah, it's going to be like, that's something that could be turned into something similar to like SoundCloud, right? Like, and so like, people don't realize that a blog platform means a lot more than what they think it means, right? A blog platform could be essentially anything you can dream of. And with the functionality that we have as far as the ability to copy, modify, publish on another name with slightly modified functionality, people can take the Q blog and make it more focused on one aspect or another and rebrand it really easily. And once we've got all this stuff published on the mainnet, then any developer who at least sort of understands what's going on can copy the code, modify it, make their own version of it, publish it on another name under another like completely different brand, whatever they want, right? And use the data that's there on QDN, since there is an underlying data network that didn't exist before. You can do things like all of the same videos can be pulled from one platform branded one way, and the same videos can be pulled from another platform branded another way, right? Or you could make it so that only certain name data shows up. So you can have a platform specific to certain people, right? And we could also in the future make it so that certain groups only can have, videos that are shown here, whatever, right? So in the future too, we're going to have the group functionality tied to the data functionality. So you'll be able to do things like an application that has quote unquote a front end and a back end, right? So you can use one website to do things that the users who are quote unquote logged in or authenticated in order to do other things can do, right? So there's like no limit to what is actually possible utilizing the infrastructure that we've already got, right? And so this is like a really, really exciting time for the platform. I know I've been, hyping this up for the last few meetings, but it's like, primary development focus right now, and we are like, dude, the developers are amazing. They're kicking ass on this. Like, I did not expect it to be this functional this fast. So like, you guys are gonna be in for a treat when this stuff goes live. And yeah, I'm just super stoked about it. So yeah, I know, G, you had some people who had some other like unrelated questions and so forth, but if anybody else has a topic that they want to talk about, or a question on what I'm talking about now with what will be possible or whatever, just let me know, and you guys can kind of lead the direction, and I'll just comment on whatever I feel like I need to comment on. Yeah, go ahead. Someone else can talk for a bit.
So those
I just
videos.
want to. Oh, sorry.
Okay.
Go,
No,
Lutz.
go
Go,
ahead.
Lutz. No, I just wanted to like reiterate, or one thing that I realized just starting when I started developing Qblog is the first iteration of QApps is going to be a lot more powerful than I thought it would be. And so I'm not really, I'm excited about Qblog, but what I'm more excited about is that um, applications like Qblog could be created by anyone
Right.
and published. It's only the first version of Q apps, and it's already going to be very powerful. You could be able, you could say, people could save their data and retrieve it, and so you could have like for example, Qblog, you could post all your blogs that's saved, and then when you re-enter or when somebody sees your profile, could get that information. Which I guess I wasn't in the like 6 months ago when I first thought of Q apps. I didn't think we would have that functionality right away. So I'm kind of like I'm pretty excited I'm pretty excited to see what other people are going to create out of it. So
Me
just
too,
wanted to
man.
say that.
Yeah, it's a lot. Like people don't really realize how much we already have as far as the functionality goes, right? So yeah, when we make this live and we demonstrate some of the stuff that we're doing with it, and it's going to give a lot of other developers ideas on what they can do with it. And yeah, it's going to just run wild, man. Like it's going to be a lot of fun, that's for sure. Definitely. Go ahead, Lutz.
I forgot what I was gonna say.
Oh, of course you did. Yeah. Okay. But yeah, like
How big are the videos that could be posted in the blog?
Okay, so
What's the
yeah,
most size?
like for now, we still have this single published limit of 500 megabytes, right? So that's gonna mean, a little bit of adapting at first to like even these videos that we are doing for the thing we're doing here with the think tank, right? Like, and they're recorded for like 2 hours, right? And those are still under 500 megabytes to give people an example. Yes, I'm not recording them in 4K or anything like that, right? But they are still like a 2 hour video is still totally possible, right? So people are gonna need to think about that and potentially maybe publish like part one and part two if a video is longer than a single publish. But that's the other thing too, right? Is that you can just publish another video. You don't need to worry about like for like right now with the stuff that's live on the mainnet. In order to do that, you have to like create another account, register another name, and publish a whole other website that's 500 megabytes, right? Because we have that single publish limit, and right now you can only publish an entire website at once. So this is going to open up a shitload more. Like, so you'll be able to like if you have a video that's 1 gigabyte or whatever, all you have to do is just cut it into two parts and publish part one and part two. So that's initially, right? And we will be able to do that immediately. Then also, I was thinking of ways to have something that basically automatically does that on the back end. And then it will just, publish part one and part two for you if you upload a video that's bigger than that. But that's going to, that requires more development. For now, it's just a single published limit of 500 megabytes. So that doesn't mean you can't publish a video that's bigger than that. You just have to split it up into 500 megabyte chunks and publish them each individually. So there are multiple ways to like get around this issue right now. And then of course, as time goes on, we will increase that limit and then we will eventually, hopefully be able to completely remove it. It really depends on how things go with the increase and so forth. But yeah, it's definitely all going to be pretty easy actually. Like, so it's going to be basically people need to split the video into 500 megabyte chunks, which 500 megabytes is more than you think when it comes to a video, unless it's like a 4K or like super high definition, high quality audio video, then that's, might be a little bit bigger. But like I said, even these videos that I've been doing recording for this think tank, which end up being about 2 hours long every time, they fit well within 500 megabytes. I think the last one was like 320 or something. So yeah.
Right. Well, that's because it's audio.
Well, no, it's a video. It's just
Oh
not
yeah.
much going on the video. Yeah, it's a video. Yeah. I record the Discord thing with the users in it, and then like if I have anything to show, I can show it or whatever. But I record it as a video. Yeah.
I think down the line we could make it play consecutively the little clips You know, like back in the day when you had to break up a movie into like 20 pieces in order to get the
Right.
movie.
Yeah,
Same thing.
so I mean, and it's not even really that many pieces. Like if you look at, for example, like I have a bunch of movies that I've downloaded, right? And the majority of them are around 1 gig or less, right? And a lot of them are less than 500 megabytes. So for a full movie, depending on the quality of the movie, it can totally fit within 500 megabytes. And yeah, so it's not that big of a limit in my opinion, and especially since you can just publish another video, we don't have to worry about registering another name and creating another website and publishing a whole website with it, right? So it's really gonna open the doors to like
I
basically
just
everything. Yeah.
I just want a big movie collection where everybody could share their collections with each other, like back in the day. You know,
Right.
where we would be able to see what the other guys got, right, and you make a trade for your video, right?
Yeah.
Like I'll give you the Conan the Barbarians, you know, if you give me a Xena Princess Warrior.
I mean, basically anything you could think of is possible. Just the single limit, right, is the only thing that's an issue, right? It's not really an issue. It's just the current limit. So yeah.
Cool.
But yeah, I'm super stoked about it. I think it's gonna be like the next generation of Qortal, right? Because people will have a lot more they can do with the platform, so it's not gonna be like that they're just logging in to use QChat maybe or to check their wallet balances or whatever. It's gonna open the floodgates as far as what is possible using the platform, so it's gonna be a lot of fun.
I can't wait to see what people share when they're uncensored.
Haha, right? So that does bring up another thing, like as far as the gateway goes, since that is a centralized thing and it's under my name and so forth with the one that I have running now, I will have to stay vigilant with that and block certain names if they publish things that are not okay.
Well, that's why we encourage people not to use the gateway. Don't use gateways. Just try to use it directly from the Quartal platform. I mean, that you should be using a Quartal full node and using everything from a full node. You should never have to really use a gateway.
Right. Yeah, that is the ideal way to do it. I think allowing access through the gateway is definitely a good way. Like I'm looking at it as like just a transitional tool and a tool for people to like get an idea of what is possible on Qortal, then for them to, you know, have an easier way to get on board, right? So they'll
Problem is, it becomes a handicap.
I know, but it is what it is. We have to get, people interested in one way or another, and the people who haven't already been interested with what we've already done and like, oh, I don't see the functionality or whatever, right? We'll now have an easier way to see that, and it'll also create them account with a single click. So they'll have an account created, then they can just download that backup file and throw it into a node that they get running. So I think it will be an easy way to get people's attention at least, and to get them started really easily, even easier than the current account creation method, which is still just a couple clicks. But yeah, I think it's going to be a nice way for people to get involved, and also to see things published like over mobile devices and so forth, since we don't yet have mobile UI, right? Which we will, and light nodes and all of that, right? But since we don't have that yet, people can use Q apps with mobile devices through the gateway and be able to make anonymous comments and whatever. So I think it's going to be good. Yeah. Obviously, full nodes are always going to be the best way to use a decentralized network. And that brings up another topic too. So the V2 of the archiving method, which is there already, the functionality is there, but we haven't like made it, like enforced it to be live yet for everyone. But that Quick Mithril did some testing on that. I think that was this morning, maybe last night. And he came up with a full node database of 2 gigabytes when it was done and said and done, right? So yeah, we are going to go even smaller than what I originally thought it would be and what Cal said. So he estimated around 7 GB, right? But we ended up doing it, and it went down to 2 GB. So yeah, it's actually going to be, I think, smaller than the top-only database. So literally, top-only nodes will no longer be necessary at all. It's really awesome. So yeah, like we're gonna have a full node database of 2 GB, which is crazy, guys. Like our database is getting smaller as we get bigger. How does that work? Magic. Yeah. So it's pretty cool. If you
I just want to say good morning
hello.
and just so excited. I can't just be quiet here listening to all this great news. I think, we have to make a plan to meet up, all of us, and maybe all we go to Vegas for the launch of the Q chat, Q
Well,
app.
I wish I could afford a trip like that right now, but yeah, I do not have like a bunch
I
of
know.
extra
I got a
funding lying
call
around.
from one
Yeah.
of the Saudi people. They really look at the video and they couldn't believe it. They said, "We want to meet this Jason."
Well, I'm down to do that. Pay for my trip. I'll be there. You know what I mean?
Very soon, very soon. You'll be on air.
Yeah, I really think that this is gonna like start really demonstrating what Qortal is, right? Because yeah, we can talk about it being an infrastructure platform all day long, but until people can see what that actually means and what the benefits are, it's just like, okay, yeah, it's a great theory, right? But people can't see it in action, so it's like the people who understand that it's already there, like developers and so forth, they're like, yeah, this is amazing. But anyone else needs to kind of see before they'll really understand, right? And I just talked with another person yesterday. Like this is, I don't even know how many now that have come to me and said, "Oh, I was banned on YouTube or I was banned on Facebook or Twitter or whatever," right? And so we are going to have like the alternative for those kinds of things, right? If you are banned from whatever centralized nonsense platform that you have to use to get your information out to your community, here you go. Like now you have the ability to do everything you need to do on a platform that cannot be censored unless you're talking about the gateway, right? And in which case I would only censor what I absolutely have to keep that gateway out of trouble. But if you're accessing it in a decentralized fashion like we always recommend everyone to do, then there's nothing that can be done as far as being censored unless you decide to censor it for yourself. There's
Yeah,
no one who can censor
that is a
for you.
great about Cortal. They have all the option. They can do anything they want.
Yep,
They want it.
exactly.
Yeah.
We're leaving
But
it wide open, right? Like we want everyone to be able to do whatever they want to do on the digital infrastructure, and that's like part of the whole point. Yeah.
that's why is the beauty of this. Otherwise, you be again centralized. You be again, controlling people because of what they have to do or they don't. You're giving option to anyone can come in the future, 100 years from now, to develop whatever they want on
Yep.
this platform. But I
Exactly.
have a great news for you because when people watch the video or they, hear about this platform, this is what they ask me: where this idea came from? How come all these years is nobody was like, who put this together? Who is behind the scene? I said, I have to ask Jason this time.
Well, yeah, like I mean, a lot of the ideas were partially mine. A lot of them were partially other developers who I've, got together. Like I started by building a team of people that I knew had similar mindsets, right, and wanted to assist in making this happen, and also had the
Arr,
skill to make it happen, right? And so,
arr.
yeah, arr. So yeah, like that's what I did at first, right? And then from there, yes, I had a lot of concepts. Multiple other people had concepts. We took them, we wrote them all down, and then we went over them and we started making, changes and modifications to it. Things like the minting model, I pretty much designed the majority of that. Some of the other stuff was designed by myself and a few others. there were a lot of people that were involved in like certain aspects of different portions of it, right? Like it's hard to say like exactly who did every single portion of it or who came up with what specific idea. But basically, I started by pulling together a team of people and having them help me come up with whatever, most idealistic solution that we could come up with, right? And then
Oh
having
my
developers who
God.
could make it
What
happen.
a pain in the ass those days were.
Oh man, I
Every
know. I
every
was
It's
thinking
every
about that.
freaking
you
every
know,
freaking
nobody
3 hours.
believe how,
Every
really
every
roller coaster we had all these years.
no, no,
Really.
no, no, you guys don't know. Every 3 hours, Jason was like, "Oh, we pushed another update. We pushed it. Got to test it. You got to test it. You got to test a new one. You got to test a new one." Dude, that went
Yeah,
on for like fucking 3, 4, 5 months. I was like, at some
yeah.
point, I was like, "Is this gonna? Are these updates ever gonna? Are they
I
ever gonna
mean, well,
stop?"
when you're
Jason,
building
the
something,
most important, Jason, the
But
most important, the people
people don't
talking
know.
about how generous, the people on top, the founders, and, they were in top to be share this with the whole world to give them the minting, not just give them a coin, or not give them like a stock, or share. And which this idea, I think, is unbelievable, fabulous idea that we come up with something, or you know to share all the percentage, the highest percentage with the whole world. So I mean, anyone come in, they can be partner, really part of the partnership. Each coin they're getting, that's in my view is a partnership. And so we all partners, everyone,
right?
everyone.
I mean, that's the whole idea is that we're all supposed to be working together to build a better future, right?
That's
And
the- that's a
like,
great that's a great people amazed with that,
and
because
what
it's not.
was like really, really far back in the day, right? Like before this platform was anything other than just some ideas, right? That was when, and this is one thing that I think G wanted me to address too, so that people can kind of get a better understanding of where this all came from and why it happened the way it did and so forth. So back in like what 2016ish, right? And this can all
Mhm.
be looked at on the Bitcoin Talk forum and so forth. So this is when I came in and realized that the Quora platform was basically dead because they had done a lot of things in their launch that just didn't really make any sense, and the coin had been completely distributed in a really short period of time, and then they got delisted from like the only centralized exchange that really had any volume on the coin, and the project basically died out, right? And so I went into the community and I said, look, like if it's okay with you guys, the community, if it's okay with you, I have, a development team that I've been building and concepts that we've been putting together. And we think that starting with the base platform of Quora, because it has, it had web hosting functionality, it had a lot of other transaction types that other chains didn't have, and it was built in a different way. We're like, okay, if we can start with this, yes, it will mean completely rebuilding everything, right? But if we can start with this as like a very basic starting point, then gut it all and rebuild it, it would be better than starting completely from zero, right? So I offered that to the Quora community. And of course, since the project was basically dead, they said, yes, great, awesome. We're going to have somebody who's going to pick this up and take it over. Fantastic. All right, cool. So what I said was, and this was basically from like 4 years before Qortal was a real thing. And this is when a lot of people didn't believe it, right? Like, because, saying you're going to build something like this, a lot of people are like, yeah, right. Like, because for one, people didn't even think that proof of work and proof of stake or anything other than those two things would even be possible to run a blockchain, right? So, and Quora was proof of stake. So there was literally nothing else, right? So people didn't think that that was even possible to begin with. So when I explained, we're going to do a different consensus, we're going to do this and this, we're going to make it be able to, have all of the data, but not stored on the chain. We're going to make it so that, it has all the functionality that Quora did, but a lot more and built in a better way, right? Like, and they're like, yeah, okay. Some people did not believe it at all, right? Fine, okay, you don't believe it at all. You can keep running a Quora node, that's fine. But the people who did believe it, I said, look, I don't want to just drop the Quora community. I didn't know anything about this community. I literally
But you
came
want
in
to
at
move
the end of
forward.
it.
You want to move
Want to move
forward. You
forward,
couldn't.
want to allow
Yes.
them to also take part, right? So I said the only way that we can really do this that makes any sense and to still have no pre-mine, no ICO, nothing like that, right, is to make it so that the people who were forging, which was what they called staking, so people who already had coin in a wallet that were allowing the chain to move forward while we were still doing initial testing and development and we needed that chain running, while those people were doing that, they could then, during a specific time frame when the coin was considered dead, if you were running it while it was considered dead, so basically that would be people who were running it solely to be running it because there was nowhere to sell it, there was nothing you could do with the coin, all of the coins were already mined out, so there was no new
I
coin
think
even
they
getting
just. I
created.
think they got excited too early.
Well, I said that if you guys want to, you can forge this coin for no reward and you can earn a level on Qortal when it gets launched, right? I
That's
also
fair.
said,
That's fair.
right. So that was people who were mining for no reason other than to keep the chain running, right? There was no reward, there was nowhere to sell it. It was literally dead. So the people who were running it during that time, I said during this time frame, this block and this block, if you had forged X amount of blocks, you get level 1, X amount of blocks level 2, and so forth. So up to level 5. And now we also did this so that we could have more people who were sponsorship enabled from the beginning so that it wasn't just in the hands of the founders. Now, if we launched with the existing model without that, we would have had only the founders as the ones who were able to sponsor
100%.
at the beginning,
Yes.
which
Mhm.
wasn't ideal, right? So I tried to make it as ideal as I could in every possible way. So we said, okay, the people who were forging Quora with zero reward, who could do nothing with the coin, there was no new coin even being created, so they weren't even getting anything at all. And they couldn't use their existing coin for anything anyway, right? Other than like the functionality that was there on Quora, which data hosting on the chain, which would bloat and never really work long term. I don't know why they ever thought that would work, but aside from that, anyways, right? So I said, okay, those people who were forging from that point and that point, they can get a pre-enabled level on Qortal. So that would have to happen before Genesis, and obviously we would have to take those blocks into consideration, and people would have to prove that they own those accounts, whatever, right? So all of the accounts that forged were given a pre-enabled level on Qortal. This just means that they started at, instead of level 0, they started at levels 1 through 5, depending on how many blocks they forged. They didn't get anything else for that, right? That's it, just a level. If they didn't come in, use their Quora private key to log in to Qortal and take advantage of that level, there was nothing, like they didn't get anything, right? Then the thing that I wish I didn't do, and if I could go back, I would not do this, was the Quora burn, right? So I also said, okay, you know, people had invested into Quora. I had personally invested into Quora only at the time right before it was delisted from Poloniex. So I bought some of the coin right before it was delisted. I only had like 5 million. There was a total amount of 10 billion, so I was nowhere near the top holders, right? But some people I know that they had put a lot into it, and I just wanted to help them out. I had nothing to do with the original launch of the thing. I got nothing from Quora. In fact, I lost money on Quora, right? But I wanted to make it so that I could help
You
as many
just you
people in the
just want to
community
be
as
you just
possible.
want to you just want to give them a chance to
Right.
be part of better platform.
So what I did
And
there is said, if you burn your Quora, literally burn it, which means send it to the Genesis account, which means that no one can access it, it's gone, right? If you do this before the launch of Qortal, because we have to do all of this in the Genesis block, otherwise, you know, blockchains cannot be retroactively modified. So if you didn't do this before the launch of Qortal, there's nothing we can do. But if you did and you burn the coin before the launch of Qortal, you will get into a slow transition into quartz based on the amount that you burn. That doesn't get created immediately. You're not getting some airdrop or a swap or anything like that. You're just getting credit on Qortal for the Quora that you burn that slowly trickles into your account until you meet a 250 to 1 Quora to court ratio. So every 250 Quora turns into 1 quartz over a period of time, right? Now that burn percentage at the beginning started way too high. And it started at, I think, 25 or 20%. Of the overall block reward. Now we realized early on that that was too
20%.
high, right? And we had a vote within the community that lowered that percentage down to 1%. So now it's only 1% that's being sent to the Quora burners now. I personally burned a small amount of Quora. And I had a few accounts that were forging because we needed that chain to move. So yes, I did take advantage of my own opportunity that I gave to everyone publicly, right? So I ended up with a few accounts. I've since given away all of those accounts except for one and another that I use for development and testing that the other developers share with me. So I have 2 of those plus my founder, right? So yes, people are, asking questions on that. All I did was take advantage of a public thing that I made available to everyone, right? And of course, I'm going to take advantage of it because I know that we're going to be able to build this platform. Most people were not even believing that this platform could even be a reality, right? So if you wanted to take the chance and burn your coins that are, not probably going to ever be worth anything again, and take the chance that we're going to actually follow through with what we said and get this launched, then you could, right? And if you're going to forge the chain, then you can do that too, right? And you can earn these rewards for doing that, right? And that's
And that
what I
and
made
at
possible,
and at that point in time, I could say 90% of those like Quora people, they just jump ship.
Right.
It's logical because at that time some guy comes out of left field says, "Oh, you can trade this coin in for another coin." It kind of sounds like a scam.
Yeah.
So,
Well, and also
and
I
I was,
wanted to make
I
sure
was
that it
like,
wasn't like some swap or anything like that, some airdrop or anything that required any coin ahead of time, because I wanted to make sure that the launch was done completely legitimately with 0 coins at block 0 and minted from there, right? So yes, and I get that, like, coming in and saying, "Oh yeah, this is amazing platform we're going to build." It's going to take years to do it, right? Like it took us 4 years from the time that Quora died to the time that Qortal was launched, right? So yeah,
yeah,
you
but you
had to
know
have
what?
some faith, right?
You stuck with it, bro. I'm proud of
Right.
you. Not many people.
You know,
I'm telling you, I deal with so many developers. There's fly by nights. There's the 6 monthers. There's the 2 year guys that leave after a couple of years, and then there's the people that are always here, like me
Right.
and Forge. And the people that just they're the variable. They're the only variable you got that's constant.
Yep.
but the great things about Jason, you still, keeping these ideas. Anyone have any idea, bring it in.
Right.
And
Yeah.
you kind of like, I said, if is anyone out there is smarter or is smart or you want to be part of this platform to build better, take it and do it. That is the beauty again of you to sharing and leave, give that road to everyone to grow. This is what I really, really admire you for that.
It was one of the primary things that the platform had to be completely open source and completely publicly available in every regard, right? And that's everything I do is done that way. And everything that Qortal does is done that way. And everything that, Croatic hardware development does to the lowest extent possible is done that way, right? So I write guides on exactly how I do the laptop rebuilds. I write guides on exactly how to build all of the stuff that we build. Like, this is how the future has to be built, guys. Like
Yes,
that's
and
like
as I see, I don't see any ego in you. I don't see any like just to keep the one hand and rolling the whole all this. How many people we are right now? I think I don't know,
what
more than
in the
40,000
community.
people
Well, I have no idea. I have no idea what the number is. I mean, there's like
all over the
6,000
world.
active minting accounts, so I don't know how many
Everyone sharing
actual.
this great idea. Everyone look at that, and we keep growing. We keep
Oh
growing.
wow,
You
we're
know,
back up to 6,000.
I see by grace of God next year we are about 10 million.
I mean, the minting accounts can't grow that quickly. Like that's another thing that people need to kind of understand, right? So the whole idea, well, there's a lot of whole ideas about it, but the whole idea behind this sponsorship was, well, it's
They're
multiple
going
goals,
slow.
right?
Yes.
Yeah, we needed it to grow slowly because of technical reasons, right? We needed to be able to adapt as time went on, made sure that things went as expected, take care of issues while things grew slowly. If all of a sudden we had 10 million minters, the platform would not have worked, right? Like, especially back in the beginning, because the consensus needed a lot of work that Cal put a ton of effort in and made the consensus awesome. But we couldn't have it grow like, overnight, immediately, bam. Like, this is something that's not been done before by anyone else. So we had to, take the time to grow it in a fashion that made sense for development, right? And also, we need to limit minting account creation so that the platform doesn't get overrun by bots, as we've already seen
Jason,
took
I
place
have a
even with
tech
it.
question.
Yeah,
I have a
yeah,
tech
go ahead.
question. Is it possible to people run a node but not minting?
Of course, yeah,
Yeah, of
yeah.
course.
They can
You
do
know what I mean?
everything except for mint. Yeah, they can do all that. Yeah, you can run a node and use
You know,
everything else on the platform without minting. Yeah.
Yeah, because we do need a running node.
Yeah,
We
of
know
course.
need
Yeah.
yes.
I
But
just
In
I
other
just
words,
assume that
minting is totally optional.
right, it's optional. Yep. And that's another
Right.
thing that I think people like that's like the only problem that anyone ever has with the platform that I consider, okay, yes, you're correct, but it's not actually an issue. It's designed that way, right? Like they're like,
yes.
"Oh, you have to get permission from someone." Yeah, you have to get a key from
A
one of
peer-to-peer
over
interaction.
900 active accounts. You have to talk to someone for 5
Is
seconds.
it
It's
just to
really not that hard.
prove? Yeah,
Yeah.
I always say the reason that's 6 or
can I talk on this?
7,200 block is just to you prove you're a real person. Is not
Can I talk on this?
we have to make sure whoever running a node or whoever minting coin, they have to be real.
Right.
And
Can
so
I talk?
that's
Let Lutz say
Can
what
I?
he wants to say.
Can I talk on this topic, guys?
Please.
Yeah. So there's some people out there in the world. They feel they're experts, and me, honestly, I'm never an expert. I
Right?
still don't feel like I know anything. Like I could talk to Forge, and he can make me feel stupid in 5 minutes.
Yep.
Um, you know,
I love
so
you, Luz. I
you
do
know,
love you.
there's some people out there that feel that they could predict what's going to happen in crypto, and then what happens is typically in 4 years time from now, those same people are going to say, "Shit, I didn't see the right path. I lost all my money because I didn't see where crypto was going. I thought it was going to be DeFi. I thought it was going to be in master nodes. I thought it was going to be in staking. I thought it was going to be." You get the picture here, guys? All right, so but nobody knows where crypto is going. No, you don't know where crypto's going. Don't even act like you do. If you do, then you're going to be a millionaire, and everyone's going to be a millionaire because everyone thinks they know where it's going. But no, you don't know where it's going. All right, and this is where it's going. I'm telling you, Qortal is where it's going because there's no other technology doing this. All right, now the fact of the matter is, it always comes down to basics. The basics is a network needs full nodes. That's it. It's very simple, and you need a lot of full nodes to make a network work properly, especially a mesh network. Right, so a mesh network, it works in an opposite fashion. All right, so the network you have now in your home needs more and more resources to keep working. Right, so for example, you got 5 new people that moved in on your block. They gotta add new wires, and they gotta add bigger UBRs, right? Universal broadband routers in the streets, and they gotta increase, right? But this technology, mesh, and where we're going with this technology is the more people that use it, the faster it goes. You don't need more hardware, you need more people. All right. So the battle here is between mechanical and people, machine and man. That's the battle here. Now, if it goes deeper than that, so let me continue. All right. The battle between man and machine is happening. All right. And this is the battle. Now, they have you convinced that going proof of work and going proof of stake is the only way to go. That's the right way to go, right? But no, it cannot be the right way to go, because when Satoshi came out, Mine was done right within the wallet, right there in front of us. We were able to go into the help in the Qt wallet and activate with a command line, activate the mining. That was it. That was mining. All right. There was no there was no downloading an application special to mine. There was no there was no sending it directly to a pool your hash where that pool could now take fees, whatever fees they want. Even if you think they're taking 1% in the
Right.
back end, they could be taking 3%. You don't
That
know.
was a real
All
big
right.
problem in the beginning too. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, it still is. I'm convinced it still is. All right. So this
Would not be surprised.
centralization in all. So anybody out there that tells you that Qortal is centralized, just tell them every fucking proof of work and proof of stake chain is centralized because
Right.
of the pools. All right. How many pools does your favorite chain have? 20? 10? So those are 10 people that they just need to take down in order to take your chain down. That's
Yep.
it. I just need to take your pools down. Then once the hash rate's down, we 51% attack that shit. It's over.
Yep.
It's over. Okay, so pools are the biggest problem in Qortal. Solve the problem of pools. Now, man versus machine. Who are you going to ask permission from? All right? Who are you going to ask permission from? It's either one or the other. All right? When somebody tells you, oh, I have to ask permission. Well, guess what? Proof of work, you got to ask permission too, no matter what coin, because I have to pick up my GPU right here, and I have to beg my GPU to work his fucking ass off to make me a few fucking coins. All right, so I'm gonna talk to my GPU right now, guys. Hey, GPU, you think you could do some mining for me tonight? I need to ask this GPU's permission because I can't do it without this fucking GPU. All right, so are you gonna do it for me, buddy? We're gonna mine tonight. You think we can mine? I'm asking your permission, right? And I'm gonna plug it in, and if it works, it works, and if it doesn't, it doesn't, right? So, but I had to ask the hardware permission, whether it responded or not. I need permission, all right? On top of it, you need permission from your wallet to buy the hardware, all right? And if you have a wife, you need her permission as well. Right? So now you need three types of permission to mine, okay? Where in Qortal, the only permission you need is to open your fucking mouth, which everybody has a mouth, okay? So you don't have to open your wallet, go buy hardware, go buy bigger CPUs, go buy bigger GPUs, ASICs, FPGAs. You don't have to buy anything. The only speed bump, the only way to get in is you need to have a mouth. And everybody has that. And if you don't, you got fingers. You could type, hey, I'd like a minting account. You think you could help me out? Boom. Someone's going to jump in and help you out, especially if you do it in the Qortal Discord. Someone's going to jump in and help you out.
Yep.
So
that's what I always say to people too. I'm always like, have you seen anyone who wanted to be a minter but was unable to do so? Please tell me. Like, come on.
Right, so you could ask permission with your wallet. If you like spending money, go ahead. But it's man versus machine. So at this point, are you going to have the machines do the work? Because GPUs and CPUs, I'm pretty sure are not infinite. Right? How many people are in this world that you could ask permission to and get what you need? There's billions and billions of people, right? But how many GPUs and CPUs can you ask permission to continue mining? Right? At some point, that's going to run out.
And
there's not going to be enough.
You have to have a ton of power. You have to have a location where you can even do this. Like even the location that I have set up in my garage is not ideal. Like I have to set up a better cooling system if I want to keep doing that over the summer. Like it is not a simple task to set up a mining operation, and like it is not cheap at all. Like even right now, like the cheapest single miner you could build would probably be still a GPU miner, but to get one that's decent, you would need at least 5 graphics cards. Most of these graphics cards are going to cost you at least $1,000 each, so you're looking at least $5,000 with just the cards, not including the motherboard and then building it and all the risers and a power supply and everything else that you need, right? Then you need to have a location to actually run it. It's crazy. Like, so yeah, like
you got to keep them cool.
Yeah, I don't think that asking a single question in a chat is that difficult. And someone who's like, okay,
Right.
yeah, well, if I do it in Discord, then you know my identity. I'm like,
So
I don't know your
so
identity. Yeah, I know your Discord username, but you can also jump into Q chat, do it there with a brand new created account. Nobody's going to know anything about you. So, yeah.
Discord only requires an email, which you could make one up
Right.
anywhere. Stop
So
it.
it's like really, guys, if you're worried about that level of things, then why are you using the internet at all? Because
I
there's
tell
no
you
way that
what,
you're using this
Jason,
completely
we have
anonymously.
Jason, we have a very low percentage of people. They are not, happy or complaining. We have a very high percentage. They love it. They want it. They admire everything we do. So let talk about those people love this project because they do.
Right.
They text me,
I
message
just
me.
wanted
They
to address, like,
I
some of
want
the
you
main
know that. I
concerns that
want you
people
know
have.
that as
Squash
our
them.
leader, our main leader, and you know that as a people behind the scene, you don't see it. We deal with them. They are unbelievable happy with this,
Right.
and that's why I was asking you question if they do can run a node with not minting because some of them they just want to buy the
Right.
coin, leave it because they're believing on this platform.
Right.
And so the main is like, what happened Bitcoin or other coins out there, they have no project. And we do not talk about our coin at all. We're talking all about our projects. And that is the beauty of this platform. And let's think positive and move forward. We're almost there. We're almost there. I feel it. And
There's
as
going to be a pretty dramatic change once the Q apps, even the initial iteration, goes out because,
yes,
like even what Philip mentioned, like there's a lot more there than people even realize, right? Like even by reading the Q apps documentation, you aren't going to really see like what all is possible unless you're like already a developer, right? But if you see what we put together, and that's just a fraction of a fraction of a fraction of what's ultimately possible, right? Then you'll see, holy crap, like literally anything is possible on this platform. And the underlying differences between this and the internet infrastructure is like what makes it, right? That's what makes it. So yeah, you kind of have to like
but
understand
they,
that's what makes it, right?
but did you get my point, my relative,
Yeah,
my correlation between man and machine? I mean, you're
absolutely. Yeah.
either going to ask the machine for permission or you're going to ask a human for permission. Now, yeah, something could go wrong with humans, but you know what? Your GPU could break too. So I mean, you might be sponsored by an asshole, and you might get your account fucked up by an algorithm at some point, right? So you never know. You got to make sure. It's probably good to make sure that you know that person a little bit, but even so. I think the biggest issue that, and I think the elephant in the room here is the crypto vigilante. They have they have an issue with the fact that they're saying that getting sponsored is centralized, right?
It's
Getting
not though.
getting a GPU is centralized too. There's only certain
Right, that's
stores that
even
sell it.
more centralized. You're buying these
Yeah.
GPUs from one of two companies, guys. Like you are supporting
you
one
have
of two companies to mine, like or one company essentially to mine with an ASIC. Like Bitmain is basically the primary company that everyone buys all these miners from, right? Like so you are like unwillingly or even willingly supporting these massive corporations
Yep.
by trying to do something that's quote unquote decentralized. Now, in Qortal, you don't have any of that. You don't have to worry about any of that. Yeah, you can choose to run on an Intel device, but you don't have to. You can also, build your own ARM-based board and run it on that, right? Like so, like we have a lot more
Or buy it.
flexibility. We are a lot more
we just
decentralized.
have we
So
just
yeah,
have to give them more time to see, to read, to watch,
I
when
guess.
and they come together and they see it and they just but we cannot make a competition happy because they are losing a big money or investment or whatever they have or they're making money with selling those machines. I remember it was a very big conference all over, which I did go to 2, 3 of them. Unfortunately, we spent lots of money flying there and meet these people selling the big machines for $5,000, $100,000, depend how much percent you have to give it to them to minting Bitcoin for you. So, as Lou said, yes. What do you want to go? You chase a machine or you want to chase a people? So we are here true people, you know.
Yep.
You might
And
you might find your next wife over there. You never know.
and like even the base level calling it centralized is not true because it's literally anyone who has been minting. How is that centralized? Like I just don't get it. Like yeah, if it started maybe with just the founders, I guess that could still be that could maybe be considered a little bit more, and that's why we made it so that people could start up to level 5 so that we would have more people that were able to sponsor, right? So they couldn't even say that. And but even with that though, like our founders are worldwide too. There's no company on top of them. Like it's
Exactly.
not like we started
The
everything in the most
the fact that
decentralized, most
the
idealistic
It's
fa-
way.
unbelievable. It's
the fact
unbelievable.
the
Unbelievable.
fact the,
This
the
platform is
fact
unbelievable.
the fact is that all coins are centralized in one way or the other. I mean, you guys just need to face up to that. I mean, I just told you that every single coin you love is centralized from their pools. I mean, I know you're crying right now. It hurts, but it's true, and it's all a mitigation factor. It's never a 100. There's no such thing as 100%. You know, it's always a mitigation factor. It's a percentage. You know,
Yep.
which one is stronger?
I mean, and I think that our methods of doing things, they're going to win out in the long term, right? Like this platform is not focused on. Yes, it's focused on right now too, right? Like and getting like some more stuff done, but this is a platform that's focused on outliving everyone here. It's
Yeah.
focused on being the future, right? Like and so yes, you have to kind of understand that and realize that we did these things for a reason after seeing many, many years of how other consensus mechanisms ended up playing out in the long term. And yes, long term only means however many years since Bitcoin has been launched, but you know what I mean? We've seen these things happen, guys. Like we've seen proof of work, we've seen proof of stake, we've seen both of them launched from zero, we've seen exactly how they play out, we've seen exactly what comes of it. Every single proof of work algo, aside from our memory proof of work, which is a completely different type of proof of work used in a different way, gets centralized because smart people exist. And those smart people can take that algo and make it run better on other hardware. If you can do that,
Wonderful.
then the
Yeah.
people who run that hardware and the people who sell that hardware are going to be the ones that win in this, right? And yes, sure, you could end up making some and hold that Bitcoin and be happy with it, whatever, right? But the functionality of the whole thing is centralized in multiple ways, right? So yes, if you want to call getting a sponsorship key, quote unquote, centralized because you have to talk to someone, that I think is ridiculous. But even if you say, okay, fine, and that's the one thing that is quote unquote centralized in Qortal, that still is better than everything else that exists because there are multiple centralized components to every other algo, right? Like
Right,
if you,
and don't
it's crazy.
and you're looking at it wrong. You're looking at it wrong if you're looking at it like that. You should look at it as the price of the barrier to entry, right?
Right.
That's it. That's what it is. It's not a
Mhm.
sponsorship. It's the barrier to entry to get mining. So if you
Yeah.
have lips and you could fucking move your lips a little bit and say, "Hey, I want some help. I'd like a minting account." That's it. That's all you got to say, and then you exchange some keys, and boom, you're done. All right. That's it. That's your barrier to entry with Qortal.
And
With
then
every other
people,
coin, it's download a miner, learn how to use it. Do I have the hardware? Will it stay cold enough in this room because I'm going to burn out my equipment? There's so much more variables the other way. I mean, how do you not see this? I don't understand.
right,
There's a
it's
lot of
crazy.
people like in TCV that want to focus on one centralization and they're totally blinded to the other ones. There's centralization everywhere. If you want to start talking centralization, I could point out a million things. Your website is fucking centralized. You know, we
Right.
could go on forever.
And when we get this next functionality out here, we'll be able to rebuild all the stuff that even they need on a completely decentralized network. And then we can just
Right.
be like, here you go. You guys want to, start using
Qortal can
something that's
actually,
actually
You know, one
decentralized?
time,
yeah,
Jason,
Qortal can help all coins.
Exactly.
one time I was so concerned, and you told me one thing. I said, Rose, don't worry about this because we're going to develop the best platform out there And to people, they come, doesn't matter what. And today I believe that. Today I see that, with
Yeah.
all the great things
Like,
happened
with
last
people
3
worried
years
about
as
competition, right? I've never been
yeah,
worried about competition because, for one, we have an amazing team of people and we're community developed, which means that anyone can come in and help us out, right? For two, we built this all from scratch for a reason, and all of those reasons make sense. And we have not. We, we just made sure that we are not going to fall into the same trap as all of the other coins in the past have. And I think we've done a really good job of that. And I think that that is
you
going
did,
to
and
win out
everyone
in the
did.
future. Yeah.
When even they look at Vicky, I want to tell you, G, because I talked to many people behind the scene. I sent your Wiki and I said, and they said, who wrote this? Is this was a human to write that? It doesn't make sense.
It's a team of us. Hell yeah.
Yeah, you did an unbelievable job, Jay. You did a great
Been
job.
awesome with it. Yeah.
You
Well, kudos. Jason and others have contributed as well. So don't give me all the credit, but yeah, we work as a team. We build solutions.
but but
Thank
yeah,
you for
but
the
you
compliment,
stay
though.
on top of it, you write it, and you managed it so well. Yes, people behind the scene helped you, but we appreciate all of them. But the management of putting this in 3 years, 4 years writing, you did a great job, Jay. You did a great
Thank
job.
you. Thank
You know, guys, I've been
Seconded.
watching the work on Qortal for the last 3 years now, and I've worked in corporations, big corporations. I've 5 years in a Fortune 30 company in New York, right? A network engineer. So I've been in these situations, and the amount of work these guys have done, honestly, in the last 3 years, is relative correlated to a big Fortune 30 company who had
Yeah.
four developers, couple net admins, guys like me who made code go live at night when people were sleeping, and that was it. That's all they had. This team, what they've done in the last 3 years, they've done more than what a $1 billion company, more than it. They make $1 billion revenue every year, at least. That's what they
It's
did.
coming. It's
They did the
coming
amount.
for everyone. Yes.
They did the amount of coding that a big wholesale pharmaceutical company does, and they make billions. And so,
One
yeah,
thing,
I just wanted to relate it to the real world for you guys.
Yeah. Like, I mean, we have like the most active GitHub that I have ever been a part of. Like, and it's absolutely incredible to watch, like, basically a daily basis, new commits happening to the repo. And if anyone knows and has seen any other project in the crypto space or outside of it, wherever, see how often they make commits and how much is going into each of those and compare it to what we're doing here on Qortal, like, it's crazy, guys. We have extremely active development. Like, and what we have only one developer that's actually full time right now, like, which is crazy. Now think about it, when Qortal actually catches on, it gets some more value, and we can get more of these people working with us full time. Think about how fast things will go then, and then we get more people coming in from the community, joining the development team, and so forth. Like, it's gonna just go bam, 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 like
I
so much
see that,
faster.
Jason. I see that coming very
Yeah.
soon. I have no doubt.
But yeah, people need to
But
run a node whether they're minting or not, right? And if they just want to, buy some coin and hold on to it for later, they can absolutely do that. Start a node. They don't have to they don't have to be part of the minting. I just suggest, if you are going to be running a node continually, you may as well be minting and getting rewarded for that. And plus, having influence in the decision-making processes that take place on top of the voting system once that goes live, you need to be a minter right now for that. Like, of course,
I
in the
am going
future,
to. I'm
we
going
will
to.
also yeah, we will also be like implementing other types of leveling. So in the future, we will design and build other methods that people can use to level. It just has to be stuff that's recorded on the chain and able to be verified that way, so we can turn it into an algorithm that does that. But yeah, we, right now, the only way to earn that influence that's going to be immediately applied into the voting system is to be a minter, right? So
Yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
you don't have to, But yeah, it's a good idea if you want that influence and if you want to earn court for running your node. If you're going to be running your node all the time, there's no reason not to be a minter, right? If you're not going to be running your node all the time, or you just want to use, you don't want to publish a website or whatever and just use some of the functionality, then yeah, sure, you don't have to run your node all the time. But ultimately, when we get a little further along, people are going to be running a node all the time anyway, because they're going to be wanting to access all the things that are built on top of Qortal. And in order to do that in a decentralized fashion, they need to have a node running. Now, whether they just have one node running at their house, a tiny Raspberry Pi sitting next to their router or whatever that runs their node, and they use that for everything else, then that's also fine, right? Like they don't have to have a node running on some high-powered equipment. That's
What
another
what, what
thing about
examples
Qortal.
what examples of future leveling ups can be done? I know you've told me once that in the future we'd be able to rent out storage and level up like that by the amount of storage we rent to other
Yeah,
people.
so that one's not quite like the first one I was thinking. I was kind of thinking more like content creator level. Just have to figure out how we could make that happen in the most legitimate possible way without any like major ability to be gamed and so forth. So I think it's still gonna have to kind of correlate with the minter level and what those minters do at first, because you can only take like say an upvote from a leveled account is going to have more of an impact than one from just a brand new created account, and we can't really take those into consideration. So we have to really like think it out and figure out like which method to level makes sense. I think having some sort of content creator level does make sense, and we would have to figure out, where the rewards for that level will come from, if there are rewards other than just leveling and so forth. So there's a lot of details to be figured out, but I
You see,
initially
the
go ahead.
the foundation of Portal is so stable, guys. See, so it was built correctly. That's why Jason went through make it using a different code and to make it work correctly, right? Because it has to be correct, or else you end up with DeFi. If that's incorrect, that's the wrong way to build things, right?
Yep.
That's a band-aid because they couldn't build it the way he's building it right now. All right. And it comes down to the basics. You need more nodes per network. And Quartal works in a way where it incentivizes more nodes. It doesn't incentivize fly-by-night miners, greedy miners that come by and,
Exactly,
and don't
exactly.
give a shit. They don't care about the coin. Tomorrow they'll mine a new coin. They don't care, right? So Quartal actually rewards the people that are mining, the proper people that are using the system.
Yes.
So it combines the users and the miners all in one.
Yep. And that was really like the main thing, because also that was another good point that you bring up and that you brought up the other day, and I started elaborating on a little bit too, is the fact that, yeah, like most miners, they don't care about the coin they're mining. They mine on a profit switching pool that literally
Yes.
switches based
Yep.
on which one's the most profitable in fiat, guys. Again, we're talking about fiat profit here, which is something that we shouldn't even be concerned about at all. Now, if our platform, when our platform gets to the place that it needs to be, right, fiat should not really be necessary. People should not really have to be converting back to fiat for anything. We should have everything you need to be able to be directly used court for, right? That's the idea. It's not to like make fiat profit. Like, and that's what all miners are focused on. Yes, they have to pay their power bill, yada yada yada, makes sense, whatever, right? But there's like they don't have any loyalty when it comes to like which coin they mine, right? So
Yep.
you could have a huge network one day, and then the next day your hash rate could drop 75% because your coin is no
Yep.
longer the most profitable one to mine.
Popular.
And now that fucks up your security too. And
Everything. Yes.
it's crazy, guys. Like right now, if a large hash renting operation, say like Nice Hash, if they decided to, they could basically take 51% of a majority of smaller coins, like just by
Yep.
pointing that hash rate at that coin, right? It's ridiculous. Like, and so for anybody to say, "Oh, proof of work is more secure," it's completely incorrect. Like, they don't take these things into consideration. Yes, at the base level, if proof of work was run the way it was supposed to be, with every single person running it instead of it being pooled and da 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 da, then maybe you could say that it's as secure. But No, guys, like it is not more secure because of the way that everything ended up going right back into the hands of the centralized people, right? And so, yeah, it's a major problem, and I don't see why people don't see it. Just like Lou said, I don't see why they're not seeing this. Like it's pretty obvious. Like I guess if you're brand new to the space and you see all these people talking up proof of work and proof of stake and so forth, acting like it's the only possible way and whatever, I guess you could kind of be, confused or whatever. But like, guys, like, look at this.
I
Right?
really not concerned about people not seeing it because they will. Those percentages, very low percentage not seeing it. And I have no concern. They're going to see it the same as I see it. I'm not a tech person, but I've been in, business for many years. I think Luz, when I hear him, I hear his frustration, not people recognize this is a great platform they have to be in, which is, we don't have to concern about that. We just have to keep developing. We have to show, and they have to be Maze one day. They're going to be Maze one day.
Yep.
And
I've always said we'll just demonstrate it all, and then people will see. But
yeah,
the people who come
exactly.
in earlier and get started earlier will start benefiting earlier. That's really all it comes
It's
down
the
to. Like,
opportunity. The
yeah.
opportunity. They came earlier. They got the opportunity to get those
And that's
coin,
and
and
and that's no different. And that's no different than any chain, right? The
Right,
yeah,
first
but
people in are
honestly, like,
usually the ones.
but it's also built to be like where anyone can come in at any time and start, and it should be, still legitimate. Like it's not like if you don't get in early, you don't get anything, right? Like you should still be able to earn your way up and earn a decent amount of coin and earn your influence just like anyone else and just start at any point. But
yeah.
obviously, starting earlier, you're going to start benefiting earlier too, right? So,
Three
yeah.
years ago, 3 years ago, when somebody got this was making one coin a day. Now they're making one coin every month or every 2 weeks. So I mean, as much we have more people, if we have 10 million people, so for sure they make 0.0001 coin. So whoever come in earlier benefit better.
Oh yeah, in the terms of number of coin that they mint, but then the value of the coin should also be, increasing at
For
the same
Toshi.
rate. At
You're
yeah,
right.
we'll be breaking it down to Kortoshis. Everything will be like, just like what Bitcoin
Well,
did, right?
that
Like
that
if you look
depends.
at how Bitcoin went as far as the price goes, it's gonna be similar to that. Yeah,
And keep in mind, guys, the supply is tiny, right?
tiny.
Because it's all on inflation, right? So what he just said only works if you have a small amount of inflation and the tiny supply, which
Yeah, we
Qortal does.
like yeah. The thing too, it's like people looking at all these other coins, right? If you look, like, compare the total amount of coins that exist on these other chains versus Quartal, you'll see that Quartal is one of the lowest ones. Like overall, it is one of the lowest ones. So for us to have the price that we have now, making our market cap like what, $2 million, it's just ridiculous. Like compare other platforms with a fraction of a part of the functionality and done in a stupid way, and they have 100 billion market cap. It just makes no sense, right? It's crazy. Yeah.
Well, if
Jason,
you want
the
to put it,
reason, the
if
reason,
yeah,
the reason I see the reason because they are in the third party platform in a
Right.
Coinbase or other things. We do not have that because we building that platform. We building it. So is we are not in a third party. So is much less than people eyes. Now with the Q app coming out, people will see it. They recognize. I think this is going to be great. This is our year.
Yeah.
so
I've said that
so
since the beginning.
guys, did you know that Pirate has a 200 million uh market supply, right? Not market supply, the total supply, and what does Qortal have? Like 6 fucking million, dude. That's like nothing.
It's not, yeah, not even 6 million right now. Yeah, not even 6 million.
Lose,
I
you
just
like
wanted
this.
to put it. I just wanted to put it into perspective for people to
Right?
see.
No, I like this. Every word he said is have a last name as F.
Yeah. If we had to, good thing we're a non-censorship platform, huh? Because otherwise it'd be like beep 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 whenever Luke talks.
That's how I talk. What do you want from me?
Yeah,
That's how
it's
I talk.
fine.
I
Why,
just want to.
All
why
good.
you got to break
I
my
just want
balls?
to remind you. Is 11:17 here? I want to remind you we have some questions, which is G already managed that to be. I think G, you. I think you are in. You know what I'm saying about people have some question. I would love to hear those questions and answers.
Sure. So let's see here.
I answered the one already. The
Yeah.
other one.
Let's see here. So if you could touch on, legacy versus native SegWit type addresses
Yeah.
and how that works to our
Yeah.
exchange or, to our wallets versus out.
Yeah. Okay. So, I mean, I have not personally come across any wallet that will not send to a legacy address. Now, a legacy address is obviously like the main address of the platform, like of the chain. So, like, Bitcoin, Litecoin, they have quote unquote legacy addresses, which are the primary addresses of the chain. So, I don't understand why there would be a wallet that would not be able to send to those addresses. And that's what we use. We do not interact with the SegWit thing. SegWit is a layer 2 protocol, so it's not actually part of Bitcoin, right? Like it is, but it's not what was the intended functionality of Bitcoin. Now, that being said, we probably will build a functionality to be able to send to SegWit addresses. We don't have that now. What you can do is convert the address that you have into a native address that can then be sent to from Qortal. But anything being sent into Qortal wallets, I don't think you should have any issues. I've not seen a wallet that
Yeah.
does not allow you to send to a native address. Like, I don't see why that would be a problem. So
Yeah.
yeah,
So the real world use case for Qortal at the moment, right? If you're going to be sending Litecoin out of your Qortal wallet to say Coinbase, then you would want to go to the wiki and you could use the, if you go to important notices, a couple tabs down, you'll see sending coin to and from exchanges. And then from there, you can actually use that SegWit converter tool.
we have that
And
on
then,
QDN too. H Factor
yeah, so
has
that's
one
under
on
H
his
factors,
address.
right?
Yeah.
Hmm.
So
Yeah,
we have that on QDN, so you don't even have to go outside of the UI at all. Yeah.
Something
there
I'd
you
like
go.
to try and get involved in. So anyway, got invited to this channel.
Okay, so let's see what else we got here. I mean, we kind of touched on the, let's see here. We already
Yeah,
touched on
take
a
some
TCV
questions.
fiasco here. So
Yeah, he's relaying questions that people asked before that we haven't
okay,
answered yet.
here's another one here. So a lot of so here I'm going to just read it verbatim. So bear with me. It's a couple sentences. A lot is said for projects that launch with no ICO. Can you explain how having a pre-leveled account that receives substantially more coin during the early launch phase of Qortal is truly different from an ICO? And if the rationale for this is that it was the only way to fund development without an ICO, wouldn't it be desirable to have transparency around those accounts to show that
Yeah,
those
so I
funds were
explained
actually
why
put
the
back
pre-leveled.
into development instead of just pocketed? Go ahead.
So yeah, I explained why the pre-leveled accounts were given in the first place. Those were not given to the developers or to anyone who was starting the platform. They were given to anyone really who was running Quora, right? So we can't provide transparency for everyone's accounts. They can see all this.
Yeah,
It's
it's public
all.
ledger.
Yeah, it's the public ledger. You guys can see all of the accounts that were given pre-enabled levels, and you can see, what each person who owns them did with them, right? As far as the founder rewards, if that's what they're talking about, yes, that. So the founder accounts initially, I made a mistake with the model, right? So what we're doing now is we're in the process of transitioning to a point where the founder rewards will not be any different than anyone else. So what is going to happen now is once a first person hits level 10, then founder rewards will be no different. So founders would be just like any other account. Now,
Whatever
in
their
the
account
beginning,
level is.
the idea behind the founder accounts was to, yes, give some extra in the beginning to the people whom, without those people, the platform would have not been launched. I think that's fair. It was not given as coin, right? So we didn't create any coin to make this happen. We gave
We'll have
them
to
an
work for it.
opportunity. If they applied that opportunity, then yes, they minted more than others and still do until all the level tiers are filled, right? Once all those level tiers are filled, then the founders will go down to no extra. They will be just like any other account based on just their level. The reason we can't do this now is because there were accounts that started at higher than level 0, and the founders started at level 0. So we have to first figure out how to make that fair before we can make the founders just the same as everyone else. So yes, if that answers the question, I'm not 100% sure, but we did not give out anything, right? We gave only an opportunity to the people who, without those people, the platform would have not been launched. And so those people have this opportunity. If they apply that opportunity, they get a larger minting reward in the beginning that phases out over time, right? So yeah, it's completely different than an ICO because we did not have
And it's
a
more
huge amount of
decentralized,
coins.
right?
Right,
Allows
exactly.
us all to kind of manage our own,
Right. And
excess funds to
as
work
we've
with. And
seen too, there were a couple founders who didn't take advantage of that opportunity. And so they have minted nothing. Right?
Yeah, that's
So yeah.
exactly right. It's this is came together for we trying to work for outcome. I really, most of us, I think I see that we have no greed. We could just keep everything for ourselves, but we didn't. We, and if they are not happy with that, I don't know how do we make
I
them
mean, we
happy.
needed to have, there needed to be a way to fund the development fund in the beginning. We realized that, we can't fully rely on donations while
and
the
various other
community is
contributors,
small.
right?
And
Yeah.
right, exactly. We had to have some way to keep things moving, right? Like, and without those founder rewards, there would have been multiple things that we just couldn't have done that we've already done,
It's
right?
not
So
just
yeah,
that. It's not just that before that, but after we still working 24/7. We still with
right.
Some of
like
us.
example G is working unbelievable. I see that night and day, and dealing with the all different cultures. So okay, you get 1,000 or 100,000 coin, and 100,000 coin is like today is a $25,000. I think anyone can come in and pay 25,000 and buy those coins and sit on it, for this
Right.
great platform.
I
But
mean,
without
we
our
needed a way
work,
to make sure that we could take care of everything while at the same time not
yeah,
having any coins that were created before the launch and not having like some like sale that we did. So that, like, what an ICO is, guys, they create these coins out of thin air, then they sell them. Right? That's the thing, right? They take these coins and they sell them immediately, and they get a massive stack of fiat that they're sitting on that they can use for whatever freaking purpose, right? So that we did not have, right? Yes, the founders have an opportunity to
it's the
mint a little bit more at
only
the
Jason,
beginning,
I want to
and
tell you
that's it.
as a founder of this platform, only I have proud. And I have proud, and I'm saying I'm proud. 100,000 coin, we spent lots of those coin back to people. We rewards to people. We try to, I see all of us does that.
And
And
yeah, for
I
example, like when I asked the other day, last week or whatever, that the dev fund was getting low on coin, the founders threw in a combined total of about 40,000 coins in a few days. So without the founder rewards, that wouldn't have been possible either. So like, yeah, like
Mute your
someone's
mic.
muting. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Hey, I want to
somebody
throw one more
have a
thing in there.
conference call
Yeah.
behind the
Yeah.
phone.
So I want to throw one more thing out, right? So all right, so let's give Jason a little bit of grace here, right? So he did everything idealistically, and then after giving out these founder accounts, for example, I mean, there's nothing he can do further, right? So if I wanted to set off into the sunset and not do another thing for the project, I can do so. You guys can't control my wallet, my account, right? So with that said,
Right.
I know I'm awful confrontational at times. But sometimes the truth has to be said. So the reality is there are a couple of you founders who are extremely subpar with your performance and contributions. Now that's not a direct reflection on Jason and his performance and his intention. At the end of the day, there's nothing we can do about these kind of people, and hopefully, they'll find motivation to, better contribute as they can. But I just wanted to kind of finish off one more point there, that at the end of the day, let's give Jason a little bit of grace and credit that, instead of doing an ICO and managing a large wallet, the idea was to have a more decentralized group of leadership that could help kind of, fuel the fire in their own capacities. And, I think I've been a great blueprint of what we should expect. Right. So with that said, hey, it is what it is. Right.
I mean, if I could go back into the
I'm
past, I would
adding,
change a
I'm
few things,
adding
right?
one
But
thing to,
yeah.
yeah, I'm adding one thing to G. If Jason was greedy, if Jason was not care about this platform and did not like this the way it is, he was already got hired somewhere, a couple 100,000. Even I remember Ethan was offering, once he worked on a project, but he didn't left us. He's here with us.
Right.
And
And
I
he's not even
really,
minting. Yeah.
yeah.
Which
And
would be
he,
nice though, because
yeah.
anyways.
And, I think he's done a great job. And you know what? I don't care about who said what. I stick with him and support him to the death. I'm all in. Jason. I
Well,
want you to know
thanks.
that.
Yeah, like guys, like when this was all being conceptualized and so forth, like we were trying to build something that most people thought were impossible. Like most people thought that this was something that literally couldn't be done, right? And so, yeah, we tried to do everything as idealistic as possible, but we also have to realize, like, this is the thing, right? We still live in the world that we live in now. It's not like all of a sudden we build this platform and then idealism happens. Like we still have to like have a way to keep things moving as we live in the world that we do right now. And this was the only way that I could see it actually taking place. Now, the founders, unlike a lot of other platforms, they don't get rewarded forever. And that was the thing, that one mistake that was made is that 5% that started at the beginning, and that is now being modified, right? So that was a mistake. I can own up to when I make mistakes, right? Like, so I made a mistake with the model. The mistake was to keep a 5% reward that goes to the founders. Now, I realized that that was not a good idea, right? So we have now done as much as we can so far with reducing the founder rewards, and now we have to wait a little bit longer before we can do something else to make it so that we can turn them into a typical account in the future. But that's only technical reasons. But we've done as much as we can right now to make it, as legitimate as we can for what it exists now, right? So yes, there are a few things that were done at the beginning that if I could do them again, I would not do them, such as the Cora burn. I would have not allowed that to happen. Seeing as what came up from that, I would have not allowed that to happen, right? Like there are a few little things like that. Yeah, I made a mistake with that. It didn't work out the way as expected. However, one of the cool things about Qortal is that it's flexible and we can make changes. We can have proposals that come up and people vote on them, and then we build them and we make a change, even a total change if we want to, on all of the stuff, right? And that's another thing when people start complaining about, oh, sponsorship, da 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 da, right? For one, I agree that the term sponsorship has a lot of negative connotations. I think that one of the first proposals that I'm going to put up when the voting system does go live is a proposal to modify the terminology. I think that
Maybe we change it
sponsorship
to
is a stupid word.
rewardship.
I think
Rewardship.
mentorship. I really like mentorship because it's almost like mentorship, but for minting, right? I really like that. Or just calling it a key, right? You just need a key, right? So there's a couple options there, but I mean, yes, it does bring up negative connotations. It brings up the idea of
Call
pyramid
it barrier
schemes and shit, but
barrier
yeah,
to entry. Just
right?
barrier to entry.
Yeah,
Because
I
that's
mean,
what it is. If
and
you
that's
compare
I've
it to
just
the
been
chain,
not
it's the
calling it.
barrier to entry.
Yeah, I've
mine.
just been calling it different things. Unfortunately, it is called sponsorship in the UI and so forth and all over the wiki. And so if we do make these changes, we'll have to modify all that. But that's why the voting system
And
is
this is
I am
another
so
example of us
glad.
being over idealistic, but modifying
right.
and adapting to the
You
people's will,
know?
right? So if you guys want to change terminology, let's have a vote and do it. All right, is it really that big of a freaking
Houston,
deal? Like,
I am so glad it's just a terminology.
Right, yeah. And so, like, I don't know. When I was younger, I was very, very idealistic, right? I thought that, all of the founders were gonna do their parts to, help the project along in whatever way that they can. Some of those people did not do that. I thought that, people who were forging Cora for no reward at all would be honest people and not try to game the system before we had protections like the MIMPOW and so forth in place. That also didn't go as expected, right? Like, some of the things, yes, I was too idealistic about it. I admit it, right? Like that's what happens sometimes when you're trying to
But you
develop
know
a
what?
super
But
idealistic platform.
those
yeah, you're trying.
idea
Yeah.
is what made today. We have to understand those
Mhm.
idea. If it's a percentage of founders does not, maybe behind the scene they are working hard. Know that. I talk to them. We don't need to, they don't want to come on front like me or
Which is
G or
fine. Like, do other things. Just use your skills in whatever way that you can, and that's all we've ever
yeah.
requested. Is that if you're gonna, take advantage of the founder opportunity that you have,
Yeah,
you
get to
should
work.
also, help in whatever way that you can, right? And I mean, that's what we ask of everyone, and we also, have now rewards that we can give people for those things because of the founder accounts. So I hope
And
that addressed
I
that.
think what I'm
too.
trying
I
to
mean,
say, you did not make any mistake. You did not make any, it was just the beauty of this have to be like this.
right? It
Otherwise,
all came together, right? It's all
I will
live.
not
It
be
all worked.
here. Yes, I will not be here, Jason. And
Yeah.
I know I will not be here because whatever happened is a reason. And I don't think you made a mistake. You made a beautiful, everything. But if it's 1% of people say something, they don't have nothing to say good.
Well, the thing is
You
that
can
people
change that.
I've noticed the people that have like they find one thing that they can focus on, and that's the only thing they focus on. They
That's
literally
why I don't hear it. I
they
don't
don't
hear
even
it, and
point
I
out
don't want to
like
hear it.
any of the positives or any of that. They're just like, oh yeah, nope. It requires someone else to say yes before you can mint. Like, wow, big fucking deal,
Jason,
guys. Like,
all
yeah,
I see, you working 24/7. We have unbelievable, smart, intelligent developers. They are working with you. I'm looking at 24/7. UG, everyone trying. So this is the beauty of,
it's
I
a
don't.
community developed thing, guys. Like we
Yeah.
all have to come together and get this done. And if we all agree that we're trying to do things in the most idealistic way, and that some of those things may not go perfectly initially, but we can modify them. That's the other thing. Like most other blockchains are stuck to an algo. Like Bitcoin, guys, if you wanted to say, oh, make a proposal to change the algorithm that Bitcoin uses to mine, right?
You know
That
what
would
I
not be
think?
possible. It's not possible. Like,
Jason, you know what I think? When the people complaining, do you know what I think?
what?
I think they're jealous. They are not founders.
Yeah, I mean
They
that's
just that
potentially the thing.
jealous. They got in late. They got lead
But
late. They
it's not
can't get
late. It's
in.
still early. It's gonna
But
be
I
early
tell
for
them
quite a
no.
while. Yeah.
Yes, it's not late. Anytime, they can come in.
Well,
And
okay. A lot of people are just now investing into Bitcoin to this day. So, what,
right,
13,
are you
14 years
late?
later? So it's all a
No.
matter of perspective,
Good
right?
point. Yes.
So, hey, can we go back to one more thing here? So,
Sure.
Another
well, not go
question. Yes.
back, but I got another one. Yeah, just to clarify. So, in that grand TCV chat, someone had a misconception. So first, folks, right, Qortal is not a DAO. We have a blog on Qortal.org titled Qortal is not a DAO if you'd like to read that, explaining, how DAOs could actually be built on Qortal at some point, but, kind of how all that terminology and functionality works.
Right.
Now, Jason, basically there was a misunderstanding about, I'll just read you the message here and you can clarify. So,
Right.
you wanted to run Bitcoin mining pool in Canada, but then you needed permission from China, and they said no, and it
Um,
wrecked him financially. So if you could just clarify how that whole thing went
Yeah,
down.
okay.
And
So it
no,
wasn't a mining pool. So I did run a couple mining pools, but that was unrelated to this. So
yeah,
yeah, so what they're talking about is the mining operation that
right.
I wanted to use to basically fund the development of the platform so that we didn't have to use other methods to do that, right? So I wanted to have like ourselves completely independent and fund it on our own so we didn't have to worry about it. And so what I did was, so I had previously a rented location in Canada that I had set up basically a $50,000 mining operation, small one just to test. And yes, 50,000 is small. So we set up a small one to test it and get it all configured, build how our cooling systems were going to work and whatever, right? So we had that running. I don't remember how many cards were involved in that, but it was like probably 50 graphics cards and maybe like 25 ASICs, something like that. And we were running that for a while, right? Then we decided that, okay, let's buy a piece of land in Canada, in Montreal, and use that to, we had already established a company 3 years ahead of time so that we would so that we would be grandfathered into this law that we knew they were going to pass that was going to affect crypto miners, right? So we had already planned on all of this way ahead of time. We had the company established. We bought a piece of land up in Canada. We spent, okay, so it was like 500,000 on the hardware and then about 80,000 on the piece of land and then another like 65 to 70,000 on the power installation just for like all the stuff to run the shit because like this was like a crazy amount of power we needed, right? The only thing that we needed, we had all the stuff on the inside of the building built, ready to go, ready to run. Only thing that we needed was Hydro-Quebec to actually run a power line because we were using that much power. We needed another power line ran to the building. They had planned on doing that for us. They had set a date, and we had everything built right before that date that they were going to do it. Then they said, "Oh, sorry, we're gonna have to delay this," and they delayed it by 6 freaking months. Now that 6-month delay in terms of mining, that's basically a death sentence because the hardware only lasts about a year and a half before we have to start talking about upgrading it to keep up with the new hardware that's getting released, the hash rate and right? So that was basically a death sentence in itself. But they did the installation 6 months later. We started running the operation. Then after they did that, they said, "Oh yeah, by the way, you missed that law, the one that we had established a company 3 years ahead of time to specifically not miss." They said we missed it anyway because of some fucking technicality that they probably made up, and we fought it and fought it and fought it and fought it and fought it, but we lost. And they raised the power prices there by 5 times, which made it more expensive to run there than it would be to run in my damn garage. It made the whole operation completely useless. There was nothing we could do about it. And so that completely screwed the entire operation. And yeah, that was fantastic. And then, of course, during that time, the prices of all the coins were down in the dumps. The ability to sell the hardware was basically non-existent. We were able to scrounge up a little bit from selling some of the hardware. And I think, some other things happened with one of my partners, and he didn't quite do what he
But
said he was going to do
this
and
was
whatever. Like,
all
it was
before
all,
launch.
yeah, all before
Qortal
Qortal
launch.
launched, like
Yeah, this was
literally
like
right
2018.
before, yeah,
Yeah.
right before the launch, because I wanted to use this to fund development and make sure that we had everything we needed, right? And yeah, it did not work out that way. And what happened there is I had invested every extra dollar I had. This was like a year after I had to buy my house, which cost me basically all the coins I had at that time to sell to get the down payment for the house, which they wanted a huge down payment. I had to put like almost 100 grand down. And because of that, I sold all the coins that I had then, which if I would have held them for another 2 years, they would have been worth 5 million. But aside from that, then the mining operation was the rest of my money that I had. I invested all that I had into that, and it completely failed because of the power company. So that's another thing with mining, guys. Like, you're reliant upon the power company too. You're reliant upon so many centralized things. It's ridiculous, right? So that fuels my passion for wanting everything to be completely decentralized. And so it ended up, leading towards a lot of better things getting
What's this
built on
about
Portal.
China? Where did
It
this
is, right?
misunderstanding?
I have no idea
How
what
did
they're
those
talking
dots
about with
get
China.
connected? China, yeah.
No idea. That one, I mean, we bought the miners from Bitmain because that's where, Bitmain is in China. So maybe that's it. I don't know. Maybe they were confusing China with Montreal. I don't know.
It doesn't matter what they
Doesn't
said,
matter.
what they think, what they are saying things, and
Yeah,
this is
it
it's important
put
what
me in a
you
position
have on the
where
table right now.
Yeah,
You
it put
have
me
the
in a
best
position where I had
platform.
nothing right before the launch. So I couldn't even afford to pay my house. And this situation has come and go now a couple times, and right now it's not a great situation either. So on the quote unquote financial side of things, which I consider to be monopoly money anyway. So it is what it is, guys. Like, yes, the value of court going up right now would be very, very beneficial to both helping making sure that the development can go a little bit more quickly and we can get more developers helping, and also making sure that I don't have to take time away and like stop focusing fully on the platform, right? Like, so it is what it is. But yeah, that initial hit really sucked, and it made it so a lot of things had to be
Jason,
done
the
in a different way.
people
Yeah.
is a nature is go up and down in life till you come to this point. Otherwise, if you were successful with your Bitcoin and all those, you would not have this platform. We would not be here today, and the world would not have this wonderful platform.
Well,
So,
it would have been probably still launched, and it would have been more easily funded,
but
but it
I will
also would have
not be
not been.
part of it,
I mean, yeah, that's
Jason.
also potentially true. And also the cool part about it is that now you can literally say that it was completely grassroots. Like, not even me with a mining operation, quote unquote artificially in increasing the price, right? If I would have had 3 Bitcoin mined per day, you better believe the court price would be nowhere near where it is now, and that would have been because of me, right? So you could say it was a good thing because of that, where it's literally grassroots. There was no influence by the development team or anyone who started the project as far as the coin's value, right? So that is, one positive way of looking at it. Obviously, it sucked for me personally. And it still continues to affect my life to this day, but it
Dude,
is what it
dude,
is.
you stop, dude. Just stop. Don't worry about it, bro. Nobody gives a fuck about your history. I
Yeah.
can't even believe that people are even questioning this shit.
Yeah,
Exactly.
I told you. I mean, I told you how I met him, and you don't. If you don't believe me, I don't know what to tell you. But
yeah.
I'm pretty good at. I consider myself pretty good at judging people. Sometimes it takes me some time to figure them out. But I've
100%,
known
Lutez.
Crow.
100%. Yes.
I've known Crow for about 8 years. I think that makes him pretty fucking legit.
I mean,
Oh,
another thing, I've never
I
changed
am kind
my
of
identity
person.
online. I've never used a different
Shit, we
username.
go back
I've
like
never
18 years.
Yeah, I've never used a different username. So you guys can go back and see the history of everything that I've done, good and bad, throughout my entire history online, if you want. Like, I've never used a different username, like, from the entire time I've been involved in the crypto space. That was a deliberate thing, by the way. Like, I could have done what many, many other people do and use anonymous identities bouncing from one to the other, da da da, da, right?
right.
But I did not do that because I wanted to establish a long-term history of, people know that if I say something, yeah, it might take a little time, but it's going to get done, right? Like, and so that is what I, wanted to establish, and I think I've done a decent job at that, at least, right?
You
Like, so
did. You did.
And I think we could all agree that he's a pirate at heart. Because he looks angry. He looks as angry as I was at the system.
Oh yeah, way, 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 way angry. Yeah, dude. Like, I can't stand bullshit, and that's all I see when I look at the traditional system. And now I'm digging deeper into mortgages because I have to figure that out. And holy crap, that system is ridiculous. Like, it's completely ridiculous. So yeah,
That's contract, bro.
yeah, man, it's crazy.
That's
So
contract.
like, we're building a better system, guys. Like, and yes, I know this sounds like, oh, like, pie in the sky type whatever, right? But we have that foundation already, and now we're about to get to the point where we can build any type of application you can think of. Yeah, some of the functionality will be a little bit further down the line for certain specific things, but guys, this is it. Like, we're almost to that point now. Like, we're testing it on the test net right now, which means we
You
are
know what
not
I feel
far.
like, you know what I feel? I feel like, somebody got graduate in university and got a doctor degree and sitting and talking and say, oh, when I was child, my mom did that, my dad did that, and complaining. Hey guys, look at today, what we have.
Right?
The point is today what we have with Qortal. And that is the most important is not about like, what was 10 years ago, what was 8 years ago.
Right, yeah, like when people bring up
Plus-
the nonsense that happened with Burst, I'm just like, really, guys? Like, this has already been addressed so many times. Like,
Yeah. So
Plus-
I think in this meeting we have to bring all the questions about the tech questions, which
well,
is
we open it up to anything, and it's fine, and I'm fine to address it. And like, if everybody wants to know the answers, whatever. Like, if you haven't heard these addressed multiple times in the past, it is what it is, right? Like, I'm happy to answer any question. I'm an open book, right?
I know you are, and I tell you, I am a kind of person, as Lou said, if it's 1% I see something is not right, I say it immediately. You know me, and
Me too, though. Like, I just can't handle nonsense.
Me
Right?
three.
Yeah, like, so all of us working together, we're gonna point out like all of the issues with
Yeah.
each other, as well as the issues that we see potentially
This is a
happening
no-fly
everywhere,
zone for the
right?
bullshit. Yeah.
Yep, exactly, right, yeah.
Yeah.
So what were you
I
gonna say,
just
Luke?
I want to also tell you guys I also do see a possible future where it's possible
You're
that
a
we can
fortune
have
teller?
an even better privacy coin that doesn't exist at the moment.
Right?
That can be made with the minting system. Maybe done a lot better another time around, where it has ZK Snark's pirate privacy at the top of it, and underneath it has a minting system to mine instead
Yep.
of an Equihash, instead of a Zcash. That depends on ASIC miners. It'll be, but in this implementation, and I'm thinking 2-3 years down the line, who knows, right? But maybe an implementation where it's permissionless completely, where you just open the wallet and you could start minting. But we don't know. We can, see, the reason why Qortal started the way it did was, Crow didn't know if you put 100,000 people all at once on this thing, how fast it would break. Right. So
Right.
it needed to start slow, because it's the first time this was ever done. Nobody knew what was going to happen. But getting better at it, though, maybe we could start a side chain on Qortal that's even stronger.
It still ends up to the point where, like, then things are controlled by hardware, right? So if you have no
Yeah.
limit to the way that minting is created, and you just allow anybody to come in, and yes, we have the MinPal, so you have to have, we could even lower it or raise the difficulty, so it would literally be 1 key per node. Some nodes wouldn't be able to run it, but whatever, right? So say we do that. Say it's 1 key per node. Still, man, it still goes down to how many nodes you can run. It'll be coming down to how many people can run how many nodes. And that's the exact opposite of what we wanted. We didn't want it to be run by hardware.
Right, but
Right?
I'm talking about an accelerated Qortal. So I'm always in an accelerated mind frame, right? So let's accelerate Qortal 10 years, all right? Where there's 100,000 people that are able to sponsor other people, right? What are those called? Sponsor people, right? Sponsors.
Yeah, sponsors.
Right. So and that's a bad word for it, because
I know
that's
that's
just a
we're
barrier.
gonna change the wording.
But it's say there's 100,000 sponsors at that time. I mean, it's going to be super easy to get a minting anywhere.
I mean,
there might
already
actually be. I might actually create a Q app where you could just send in your key and it'll automatically send you, your minting key back. That's it, and it'll be that easy.
Well, I want to make the sponsorship board where people can come in, put up a card with some information about them, whatever they want to say, and then people who can sponsor can come along and just click sponsor this person, right? And it will create a key, send it to them in QChat. When QChat database and protocol exists, then the message will stay there. Then when they open their UI, it'll notice that specific type of message and say, "You have a minting key. Would you like to assign it?" Yes, go, bam, done.
Right,
Yeah.
right. But
So it's gonna get
that's what I'm
easier.
saying. But in a Q app, it could be more automated, where they answer a question or two, and boom, you get your key.
Yeah,
That's
but
it.
that would be gamed is the problem.
Yeah, but socially, everything's game too as well.
Yeah.
I've seen scammers come come on the radio show and try to scam people. man.
Yeah, I mean, of course, we're not gonna like
Vocally.
completely eliminate the ability to game it, right? But we're trying to do our best to make it as mitigated as possible. And so making anything that's automated is just gonna be gamed. Like, I mean, obviously, it would just be whatever sponsor account that's behind that is giving it, so it would be limited to how many they can
Right.
create. But yeah, it's still like, yeah, and
Right.
obviously there are people who
I
are going to always try to
would,
sponsor themselves, no matter what we do, right? So, but we can just make it as good as we can. Yeah.
Jason, what I see, what I am looking at the future when the price of quartz price is going up, and I tell you the people they already purchased it right now. They come to use the utilities we have, and all the web hosting and all everything is decentralization. Make the Qortal as their own main. Uh, what sometimes English is really hard. I think G can explain it easier.
Yeah, it would make it their own and make it, used for all the purposes that they need, right? Yeah.
Yeah, it's just a
Carve out their own
minting.
space.
Minting in the future, believe me, minting. We have enough new minting in future is coming. Very valuable, very
Right.
valuable.
Yep.
Think
The
about
whole
it.
idea is that like even a level 1 minter should be able to mint enough to cover at least their very basic needs, right? And
Oh
so
yeah.
that's what it was supposed to be. So that like, if you're a minter, then you don't have to worry about having some shit job, and then we can also help like by making the jobs markets better, and then the shitty jobs will be forced to pay more because people don't need to have that job just to support their basic needs, right? So it could literally like completely transform the entire world. And so that's like what,
You know what I
we're
was
trying
thinking other night? I said that be really, really expensive when they watch NBA on Q app.
to do. Yeah. Like we won't have streaming ability initially, but we will be working on that. I have a concept that I think will work, but we have to, obviously do the development on that. So at first it'll be, videos you can publish, videos, pictures, music, whatever you want, that you can publish, and it'll be really easy to publish, and you'll be able to have, your whole social media presence there, and interact with everyone else and so forth. So it's gonna be really, really cool. It's already there on the test net, guys, so we're like not far at all. So
Yeah,
Hey,
because
on
the
the
only is not minting coin to gain a coin. They can do other things. They can
right,
do so many other things.
exactly.
so Jason, in your most recent interview, great job by the way, as
Okay.
always.
Yes.
You touched on something fabulous, right? So
Okay.
you learned that like through the reticulum, that one contact, right, that's working on some technology. You said that that there's a potential for it to actually like increase the beam, whatever, and it could actually
Yeah.
potentially cross oceans and actually maybe be
Yeah.
used with satellites and things of that
Right.
nature, right? Well,
So
you
not
you
even
said
we
reach
wouldn't
the
even need
space.
satellites with it, apparently. Like,
Okay.
so I'm trying to like get my hands on one of these things. So once
Yeah, no
I
kidding.
do, and if it does what he says it will do,
You're
it
talking about
seems like,
reticulum?
yeah, well,
Yeah.
Reticulum, and specifically a piece of hardware that someone reached out to me who is working on developing this hardware that apparently can send a 500 kb connection
To
as
the
far as you
space.
want. Yeah. So like with the lower amount of wattage or voltage, it'll go a certain distance. With a higher amount of voltage, it'll go basically as far as you want it to go. And if we can make that happen, 500 kb is more than enough for a connection type like what Qortal would need. And these guys are planning already to build support for Reticulum for mesh. What they built this technology for is not necessarily related to this. They built it to like control drones from really far away and stuff like that, right? So, but that's perfect. If it can send a 500 kb connection as far as we want it to, that's exactly what we need. And they're going to be building Reticulum support for it anyway, so it's pretty ideal, and I am really kind of stoked about it. If they do get it built and I can get my hands on one, and then I'm also looking to get in direct communication with Mark Kivist, which is the developer of Reticulum. So if I can talk with him directly, he can help me figure out how to get Qortal to connect over Reticulum. I am like 99% sure that it's possible to do. So
Half a
even
meg
if
is enough?
what? Yeah, totally.
Half
Yeah,
really? Okay.
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. That's mind blowing, really.
yeah. No, yeah, it's enough. So
So go ahead. Go ahead. I got to
but
follow up.
yeah. No, I don't know.
Okay, so let me
Um,
ask you a crazy idea here. What do you think about? Bear with me here. So just out of good fun, right? Even something like, okay, so if we were to launch a satellite, right? Like one thing I want to knock off my bucket list is this whole flat Earth conspiracy. I know it's kind of a sidebar point, but like, hey, what if we could launch a satellite, right? That has whatever optics, whatever cameras people want to agree upon, so there's no discrepancy. Or regardless of that whole thing, if you're saying we probably wouldn't need it for bridging the mesh network, but whichever way you cut it, this type of technology could potentially be used, right? So that we would have our own, you know, internet data service, and we'd have our own protocol, right? So that could all be secured through the blockchain. So for whatever purpose we're talking about, right? An idea like that might actually be, possible, right? Is
yeah,
that too
like
outlandish?
so. No, the
Well, it
dude
could be
said
used to triangulate the satellite's location.
right. Yeah, so the dude's
Well, because
saying
here is the
that
argument, like, oh, it could be compromised, right? Oh, this, that, and the third. And I'm like, well, hold on. If we were able to have our own protocol, our own data service type solution, like everything you just touched on, and it's secured through our own blockchain mechanism, right? We're not talking about the ledger and minting. We're talking about using our own database and technology, right, Jason?
yeah,
Uh, I
like
mean,
so the
how crazy
communication
is that
protocol
idea?
we're planning on using Reticulum for that, right? So that we can, so that would provide us a bunch of underlying stuff that we wouldn't have to necessarily build directly into Qortal. Now, we're planning on probably doing that anyway, right? Like, so we're gonna probably encrypt our sync communications regardless. Then, but if we use Reticulum, it does that too. So if we make it so that whether you're connecting over the quote unquote internet or not, you use Reticulum. Then we're not reliant upon IP addresses for anyone that's not using the internet. And we have default encryption. We have default ability to immediately connect with any existing wireless hardware and establish a mesh network, right? So if we use the communications protocol, whether it's over the internet or not, it makes it so that there's another layer of encryption there too. And it also like it's just
Mm,
perfect, right? It's
be way
literally
more secure.
it's
Yeah.
literally ideal. It's what I wanted to have, and I cannot believe that's a real thing. So
Okay.
I
So
really want to make that work. Yeah.
one more thing now. One of our devs has a prototype in the works, right? Now I realize you touched on this before. This prototype's the purpose of, out of good fun, saying, hey, we've got a cutie insight posted in space. But if we
Right.
were to go about something of that nature, right? I mean, hey, can we kind of tie in all these ideas into one? Are we onto something
Yeah, I
here?
mean,
You
I
know?
don't know about like he said that he could get the signal to reach the space. So I don't know like what exactly that means, how far exactly that is, like you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it would be a lot of testing required, but like I'm more focused on like if we can get a signal to space, then we should be able to
Sure.
get one across oceans, right?
Yeah.
And so we don't
Okay.
have to worry about putting anything in space or whatever if people don't even
Right.
believe space
Just
is a
just
real
for
thing.
good
I
fun at
don't know.
that point. Yeah.
Yeah, like so we could
Cool.
do it. Yeah, exactly.
Right.
So but yeah, I think like this hardware is pretty ideal. I think also that if I get my hands on one and it works the way I expect it will, and then we've got basically everything we need, and then I can also potentially work on ways to like combine, like say use two of them and use one for, like to make it so that they're faster, right? So if we want a faster connection, we can use two of them and get half of the data from each one, right? So like bonding essentially, right? So like there's a lot more that can come of this once we can actually establish it. So what I'm trying to do now is basically get in touch with the Reticulum dev so that he can help me. Otherwise I'm gonna have to figure it out myself, which will take me a lot more time. Like if the developer just tells me how to do it, then it'll be a lot quicker, right? So that's what I'm trying to do. If I can't get directly in communication with him, which I kind of have already on Disc or on GitHub, but I'm trying to get like, you know, real time communication with him. So if I can get that, he can teach me how to do it. I can tunnel a Qortal connection over Reticulum. That's basically all we need. Then we can start establishing mesh networks, even if we don't have that functionality built into Qortal initially, right? We'll just have people do a separate installation. I'll teach them how. I'll write guides on how to set up Reticulum and then make Qortal connect over it. Then as we have time to focus on that, we can build that functionality into Qortal as a default connection method, right? So it'll try to connect with Reticulum, and then it'll try to connect with Reticulum over the internet. If both of those fail, it'll fall back to the regular internet connection, right? So yeah, and that's what I would like to see in the future. Of course, right now that's not a thing, but it will be in the future. Like this, all the stuff that we, you know, like how long ago was it? Not that long ago, where I was saying, oh, in the future we're gonna have something called Q apps, and we're gonna be able to do this and that. And now, guess what? That is live on the test net. Yes, it's not live on the main net yet, but we have that functionality now. So all these other things that I'm saying, like, yes, we will have connectivity over Reticulum in the future. This will also happen, like whether it happens immediately or it takes a little bit of time for us to figure out on our own and do it that way. Either way, right? Since it's fully open source, it can happen either way. So it would be easier if I could get it from him directly.
Listen, I'm a big blocker, bro, and I need my blocks to be really big. Can you make them really big, the blocks in Qortal?
Yeah, well, as far as the blocks go, you don't even really need to worry about that because, for one, we have not even seen a full block on Qortal yet. For two, most of the data that we are actually using for stuff that's getting published is not even stored on the chain. Only a hash of it is, so it's not going to fill the blocks. So we don't really have to worry about that at all. Plus, we have you know, fast block times. So even if it takes one extra
dude,
block to confirm,
no,
like yeah.
I got a question.
Sure.
What is the BSV block size compared to the Qortal block size? Can
I have
somebody
no
figure that
idea.
out?
I haven't
It's
looked
probably the
into it.
same, bro. It's probably
I
the
think
same
ours
or
is
yours.
2
I
meg,
think
I
Qortal
think.
is
Yeah.
2 megs.
Ours is better.
Yeah. Well,
No,
I mean, the block
it might.
size only matters so much, right? Like it's how many
No,
transactions that can fit into a block. And ours, since we have like 40 something transaction types, each transaction type is going to be a different size. So, I mean, it really depends on how many of which transaction you're talking about as far as how many can fit into a block. But we also have single block confirmations and we have 60-second block times. So it only takes one confirmation for things to be confirmed and usable. And it's 60
that's nice.
seconds. Right. So you don't have to worry about like even brandly newly minted coins. Only need one confirmation before they're spendable. On things like Bitcoin, you need 3, right? So
You mean
yeah.
you don't have to worry about a 51% attack?
Well, I don't think we have to worry about that at all either because the minting levels are weighted, and we have right now the founders minting at an effective level of 10 just for the security purposes. It would be extremely, extremely, extremely unlikely for somebody to be able to get enough to even attempt trying to do a 51% attack. Like I just don't see it as really possible at all. But yeah.
We able to take on one more different topic here? We ready
Yeah,
to move
sure.
on?
And then I'm probably gonna stop the recording because it's got
Yeah.
2-hour mark. But yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So this was actually an Ask the Founders here, and we pretty much touched on this in previous chats a bit, but I'll just read this to you. It's a little blurb. So my understanding is that QDN distributed data sharing will be free and automatic for public information, but the plan is to enable people to pay for private data sharing. But what if you have a group of people that would like to have private data mutually shared but kept private? Would they have to artificially pay each other to keep all their private data mutually backed up?
In fact,
So yeah.
Sorry, is that the end of it?
No.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so I'll tell you. We got a couple more sentences. So one, if you just want to keep the model simple, no exception cases. How about allowing a payment of $0 for that private data? All the members of the club would be happy to back up each other's data for free. 2, in a company situation, a given employee might not know who else they should automatically back up. How about users be able to approve backing up an entire group, not just one user? I am aiming for all employees of a company being able to offer to back up any other employees of the company without knowing who they are. Assuming
Right.
all employees did this, I hope QDN would not make every employee store the whole group's data. It would be nice for the group definition to include specifying max number of copies for any given item in the group, default 5 or 10. By the way, okay, yeah, that's it.
Okay, so they're going way deep into like specific function.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Fine. That can all be done. But in fact, the plan for private data is to roll it out with the exact same functionality as public data. So what they want is already going to be a thing. So you'll be able to just decide to host someone's private data for them. So you won't have to go through the data market. The data market is optional, right? So the data market will not work like what you think it will work like either. Like people like tend to think of it as like they're renting space from someone when it's really more like they're renting a node's ability to store a copy for them. So it's going to be like not like exactly what they're thinking, but as far as that goes, it's completely optional. So if you have private data and you want to have a copy of it on 5 of your nodes, you just do the same thing like what you're doing now and follow that name, right? And it'll do it for you. So that's already going to be a thing. So the data market optional, it's going to be for optional uses. If you need other copies and you don't have the ability to provide that for yourself, then or with your friends or whatever, then you can pay a node to do that, right? And that's
Right. And they can set their own prices as they see
right.
fit,
Now,
whoever
what they're
these
talking
service
about with
providers are.
groups and so forth, yes, groups are absolutely going to be tied into data, right? Right now, they're not. So, yeah, that's not a thing yet. But yes, obviously, groups tied to data is an extremely functional thing where you can have like both a private app and a public app. So you can have like an app that's built for company and the employees of the company to use a certain app for like a back end, right? Then you could have a public version of that app that shows other things to the public, right? So there's a lot of use cases that can come along with tying groups to data. Right now, that's not a thing. So yeah, you could build that yourself with a Q app and make make it check the groups, make it check if a person's in it, and then do all those things yourself manually. But yes, all of that stuff that you're talking about will all be possible. And when we roll out private data, it will be that by default. So it'll be you'll choose which data that you host, just like you do for public data. Now, as far as that data having to be structured in certain ways so that people follow it and they don't follow like whatever they don't want to follow, whatever. Like so, there's going to be a lot of stuff there that's just configuration, right? So we'll have all of the base level functionality. Then, as far as configuring that, it'll be on each user to decide which way they want to make this data synchronize, right? So yes, right now we have very basic functionality. We have the ability to follow names. We're going to add the ability to have the private data on top of that. So if you follow a name, you'll automatically sync their private data too. So that's something you'll have to be aware of. I'm sure we'll be able to show like, the amount of private data that they have initially. Then later on, we'll have more specifics as far as the functionality goes and making more like things like what they're talking about happen, right? So you can have full control over every single aspect of it. But yeah, for now it'll start out, with basic functionality, and then as we do with everything else, we'll add more to it, make other things possible. We'll announce this as we go along and make sure that everybody's aware of, now you can do this, and in the future you're going to be able to do this with this, and so forth. But yeah, so private data is going to happen soon. Like that's already basically possible now. I mean, you can encrypt the data and publish it yourself, and then it's private data, right? But what we're going to do is just obviously make that a default thing. So you can say, publish this to a private repo where you are the only one who has access to it. And then also using share links and so forth. But yeah, that's
what's the minimal amount do you expect people to share? Like to be able to rent out to somebody else? Say they only got like a 200 gig hard drive and they're only using 30 gigs out of the 200.
30 gigs is
Will
quite a
they
bit.
be
Like
able
right
to?
now, that's enough to
Will,
sync
will,
the entire network. Yeah, twice or something.
will,
Yeah.
will they like? What's the minimal amount they'll be able to rent out to somebody else? Because that's where Filecoin went wrong.
I mean,
Because
it's
the
there's
barrier
not.
to entry was way too high.
Yeah, I don't think there needs to be a minimum, really. I guess probably the minimum would be enough for a single publish. So whatever our single publish limit is would also potentially be the minimum, right? But it's going to be more like you're going to have to know whether that data is able to be hosted by that node or not, right? So
I mean, if
yeah,
if
it,
if people all over the world could rent out as simple as like maybe 10 gigs, like something really tiny, dude, Qortal could end up becoming the 99-cent store for data storage.
10 gigs is way easy. Yeah. So like
The whole
it
world
would be
contributing.
basically like it depends on how much data you have on your private data and then you look for a node with that much available, right? So I don't think there's really going to be a minimum. It's going to be more like, the more data you make available, the more likely you are to get, people that are going to rent it, right? So, I mean, yeah, there can't really
It'll
be
be up to the service provider, really.
yeah, everything's up to the user, right? Everything's up to the individual. If you want to provide X amount of space, provide X amount of space. If somebody rents it, somebody rents it. If they don't, they don't,
So,
right?
so on the Qortal side of things, you're gonna have to create a storage market for people
Right.
to be
Data
able to
market, yeah.
sell. Yeah.
Yep, that's it. We will have the data market, but the data market will be optional. So you can do public private data without using the data market if you have enough nodes that will run that data for you, right? So like for me, myself, I have fucking, 25 Quartal nodes running all over the place. So I wouldn't need to rent any extra copies of that from anyone. Or I could also just say, anybody who wants to support this project, it has this amount of private data with it too. And so if you follow this name, then you're supporting the project and thank you, right? So I think the majority of the use cases for private data will probably be fulfilled without the need of the data market. However, the data market will be useful in cases where people only have like one node or they have a node that's not running all the time and they still want, a copy or a couple copies of their, important documents or whatever, right? So it'll be still very useful for a lot of cases where people are not like me and have like 25 nodes all over the world. It's different for each person, right? So we're just going to try to make a system that is flexible and able to be used for anyone for any reason, right? And yeah, there's a lot that goes into all of that. But yeah, all of the stuff that they mentioned there is definitely going to be possible. The whole company syncing the data for one another is exactly how it's going to work initially. So that is definitely going to be a thing and it's going to keep being a thing. So yeah, that is no concern at all. As far as the specifics, like they keep going down deeper and deeper into specifics, people love doing that and that's fine. But that's all going to be up to each individual application. We're not going to have like every single specific in the basic stuff for Qortal, right? Now, so think of this in the future, this is how it's all going to be, right? So Qortal, both on the core side and on the UI side, is going to be completely modular. So what this means is you will install the modules that you want for whichever functionality that you ultimately want that node to have, right? So when we get a lot further along, we'll have, server side stuff that's able to be hosted on Qortal. So you'll have like more hardware that you can dedicate towards these one thing hosting on Qortal, right? So there's going to be a lot more in the future. We're making it all modular. So you'll also be able to have specific UI plugins to customize your UI for whatever use case you want, whatever, right? So there's a lot. There could also be specific UI plugins that go hand in hand with a specific Q app and adds other functionality to that Q app or adds a backend to that Q app or whatever, right? So there's a lot that can be done, guys. Like it's literally limitless. So, but think of it as in the future, there's going to be a modular nature to both the core and the UI. So if you are installing the core and you know that you're going to be using it for this and this purpose, then you install that in that module. And those will be, what run on that node. And the same thing happens on the UI side. If you want this and this functionality in your interface, you install this in this module. We'll have both a default module installation that comes along with every installation. Then we'll have, for lack of a better word, a plugin store, right? Where you can go and you can look at the available plugins and what they do and what they'll look like when they're installed, screenshots, whatever, right? You can click it to add that plugin into the UI, and then, you know, on the core side, you'll say, you know, install this module, this module, this module, this module, whatever, right? So yeah, we're barely scratching the very tip of the surface of what's possible with this platform. So yeah, the private data definitely will roll out exactly the way that they want, pretty much. As far as like individuals setting specific limits on things and stuff like that, not quite, not yet, but yeah, that will be possible in the future. All of the stuff they said, absolutely going to be a thing. Yep. Think I'm going to stop the recording unless we've got any other questions right now, because I like to stop it around the 2-hour mark. I'll kick it here for a little bit longer if anybody wants to talk afterwards, but unless we've got anything else right now.
It was a wonderful meeting, and every time I think I learn more.
I mean, there is a lot going on, right? Like, this is not a simple platform. This is literally a platform built to rebuild basically everything on the digital side of the world, which is not a small task, right? So, but what we've got already is very soon able to do basically all of
No,
that.
it's a good
So,
thing
yeah.
about this meeting because people can hear you and they feel you. And I think it's better than, you know, hours and hours like reading things. And so it's a lot of question out there which you answered many of them, and we
I
are
would like
really
to. I would like to see, you know, a tool that takes a website from, you know, an insecure HTTPS and rebuilds it on Qortal in a more secure fashion so people could see it, but
Mhm.
more
Right.
automated.
Yeah, we can build tools like
Yes.
that too. Like literally anything that you can think of can be built. It's just about whether we're building them now or someone else is building them or whatever, right? And once we launch the functionality to allow people to build all these things on top of Qortal, then that will all be easily done, right? So it's going to open a lot of doors.
It's a
But
we building master plan. Anyone can come and build anything they want.
yep. All right, I'm gonna stop the recording. Good chatting with everyone, and
It was
I'll stick
wonderful.
around for a little bit. And yeah, thank you guys. We'll talk soon. All
Thank
right,
you. Thank
recording
you,
stopped.
Jason.
Recording stopped. All right. So yeah, anybody have any other things they want to talk about?
Let's talk about
Get your hand off my leg.
You know, I was just thinking about how come Mike and
Ah, man, there's so much to talk about, bro.
I
But
know, right?
yeah, so much, yes. So I
so